Hey guys, this is Nick with Nick's Topics, and welcome to the first Dragon Ball What If topic video on this channel. And unlike What If Bardock was the first Super Saiyan, this series is actually going to stay, because I've done plenty of analysis with it, and I'm sure that this What If is something that I won't get confused on, and you guys won't as well. Maybe. And that What If is, what if Hercule was a Z-Fighter? Now, this is a pretty interesting topic, giving a weaker character, someone like Hercule, chance to shine and actually be more than what he was in the original story. Ever since we saw him get freaking whopped into a mountain by Cell in the original, besides helping Goku with Boo and the Spirit Bomb, he didn't really amount to anything. Now, how is this going to happen? Well, before he became the World Martial Arts Champion, Hercule was on his way to Satan City, or the Satan Dojo, to become the world's strongest. Now, how I'm going to make this tie into the story? I'm going to make him meet Goku and Bulma on the road on his way to the Satan Dojo. And that's where he and Goku will spark a lifelong best friendship. But enough of that. Let's set the scene. So we open up with Goku and Bulma, and they are on their way to get all 7 Dragon Balls after meeting and defeating the Pterodactyl. And yeah, this is where they meet Hercule for the very first time, saying that he is on his way to the Satan Dojo to become the world's strongest. Goku is actually pretty amused by this, and actually wants to fight Hercule. They have a quick sparring match, and Hercule is surprised at how strong the little kid is. Bulma is also surprised at Hercule's strength as well, and seeing more of Goku's. Goku and Bulma then tell Hercule about their trip to go find all 7 Dragon Balls. Bulma mainly just says she wants to do it because she wants a boyfriend. Goku's just following her along. Now, Hercule is intrigued by this, and decides to hold off his Satan Dojo trip, and decides that he'll go with them. Goku and Bulma agree. Now, everything past that goes per normal, until they meet the Bear Thief. Now, in the original, Goku is the one to fight, because, besides Bulma, he's the only one there, and Turtle can't really fight. But Hercule is the one to step up, because he wants to show this kid he's not all talk, even though he did pretty well against Goku. Hercule begins to fight and unleashes his first time using his trademark dynamite kick move. But unfortunately, since this is his first time, it is just a normal kick. And considering he's much weaker than when he was World Martial Arts Champion, his power level right now is only a measly 10 at max. And the kick does nothing to the Bear Thief, who instantly just punches him to the ground, leading Goku to have to save him. Then they meet up with Master Roshi, like the original, and Master Roshi senses potential in both of them, but he's not going to say anything. They're not ready to, get training yet. But pretty much all that talk and stuff goes down per normal, and Kid Goku still gets the flying Nimbus Cloud. Bulma tries it and hilariously fails, but then Hercule tries it, and Master Roshi is actually quite surprised when Hercule does not fall through the Nimbus, because he thought that he wouldn't be able to fly on it. So, since Hercule and Goku are both able to fly on the Nimbus, they decide to share it from time to time, using it together. And then, Hercule says that he wants to fight against Master Roshi, and even train with him, since he knows that he's a pretty good teacher. Well, how would he know this? I'm sure he would have heard stories along his routes. Master Roshi refuses, and says that Hercule and Goku aren't ready to receive his training yet. Now, the young Mark Hercule, he's angry at this, being refused like this, at such a great offer to be trained by this old hermit. He gets angry, and charges at the hermit. But even with his dynamite kick, his incomplete one, mind you, and everything else, he's instantly tossed aside, with Goku just watching in awe. And Master Roshi repeats once again that he'll give him the Dragon Ball, but they're not ready to receive further training, and Hercule needs to control his ego. And with that, the gang are off once again. Now, their meeting with the Pilaf gang is going to be much different because Hercule's there, and they'll be much more easily dealt with. So, they continue on their journey and meet up with Oolong, and he's much more easily dealt with, Hercule being particularly surprised at his shape-shifting abilities, but Oolong joins the group per normal. Now, while on their journey, Hercule is sparring with Goku occasionally, trying to get, more strength, trying to, learn new moves, and even perfect his dynamite kick, so that way, whenever the next bad guy comes, he can take care of it all by himself. He might not need Goku to step in, because it's kind of embarrassing whenever you're older than a kid, and a kid has to save you. But they continue on their journey, and after basically defeating Oolong, they get the 6-star Dragon Ball. But they're next going to encounter a threat which might not be so easy to deal with. Yamcha, the Bandit, and Puar. They meet him in the desert, per the normal, and Hercule is actually a bit thrilled that this is a normal human and not some kind of beast. And in the original, we did have Goku fight against Yamcha, but he wasn't at his best because he was hungry. And the same would go here, except this time, Goku's not going to be the first one to fight. Hercule is. So, we are actually going to get a Hercule versus Yamcha fight, which would be kind of nice, honestly, except it's a younger Hercule. So the fight goes on. Yamcha's quite impressed by this one's prowess and overconfidence, and Hercule is definitely more happy that he's fighting a human instead of some beast. Now, the fight goes decent, with Hercule seemingly holding his own, even pulling off a much better dynamite kick, but then Yamcha pulls out his trademark Wolf Fang Fist after he gets his sword knocked away for the moment, because Hercule doesn't want an unfair advantage. But then Yamcha pulls out his signature move, the Wolf Fang Fist attack, and instantly that knocks Hercule down to the ground, almost even killing him. And even though he's hungry, Kid Goku has to step in, and he beats Yamcha similarly to how he does in the original story. Yamcha, unfortunately, has to admit defeat, because even though Hercule is kind of overconfident and his ego's a bit inflated, kind of reminds him of how he is. And he lost fair and square. And Hercule even picks up an idea for his next move. And he decides to call this move the Rolling Hercule Punch. And that's where we leave things for the moment. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 2 of my first Dragon Ball What If on this channel that is actually going to stay up this time. What if Hercule, in the original Dragon Ball continuity, was a Z fighter and actually met Goku and Bulma in the early days of Dragon Ball? This is definitely a good look-see into seeing a weaker Dragon Ball character get his justice and actually end up mattering. And in this story, Goku and Hercule are actually going to become best friends. Now, to shortly recap the last episode, Goku and Bulma met Hercule on their way to get the Dragon Balls, and Hercule, a younger Hercule mind you, was on his way to the Satan Dojo. After hearing what they were going to do, he decided to join them. And they would go on to defeat the Bear Thief and also meet Master Roshi. But unfortunately, Hercule and Goku would be denied training, pushing Hercule to get even stronger and make him see otherwise, perfecting his newest and most powerful attack yet, the Dynamite Kick, since he'd pretty much just come up with it. And, after fighting against the likes of Yamcha, an actual human adversary, learning a new move, coming up with it on the spot, the Rolling Hercule Punch. Let's begin the actual story. The rest of everything that would happen after the fight with Yamcha would go per normal, up until the point where we meet the Ox King and Chi-Chi. And since this happens, Goku and Chi-Chi are still going to meet and eventually get married, but I'm not going to spoil everything right away. I will just leave you guys with the closure that these two will meet. Then we get to the scene where Master Roshi has to come to the Ox King's place to put out the fire on Fire Mountain. And since Hercule is there now, whenever Master Roshi unleashes his first Kamehameha wave, or the first Kamehameha wave, this leaves Hercule stunned because this is the first time he would see an energy-based attack, and he's just standing there speechless. He thought he had seen crazy stuff before with even Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist attack, but this is just insane. He just projected energy from his hands, and it's like no one here is phased? And what surprises him and bewilders him more is the fact that Goku projects a smaller version of the same beam at a car. And Hercule doesn't know what to think. Could he consider this a trick? Or is he seeing things? After seeing this, I don't think that right away he would want to learn such. I think he would still be traumatized at the fact that he just saw this from other people. And he'd be thinking like, are these people actually human? And I think he would stick to melee attacks for the moment. That will change later down the line. Then we get to the scene of Monster Carrot and his terrorization of the small village. Now, everything that would lead up to before that point would go the same, up until the point where Monster Carrot turns Bulma into a carrot. And Hercule, he just felt like he's seen enough, but he can't give up. He can't just run away. He wants to get that training from Master Roshi, dang it, so he's gonna get it. But unfortunately, Goku is the one who has to defeat him with the power pole, send him to the moon again, because if Hercule attacked, he would just get sent into a carrot too, and it would just be a whole hassle. But that doesn't mean Hercule's going to be left out in the dust for this fight. He's actually going to fight the Rabbit Gang, who he defeats actually pretty easy. His real, first taste of, victory for himself. And that gives him some closure, even though, with everything he's seen. Then we get to the scene of Pilaf's gang and their castle, and everything leading up to Pilaf getting the 7 Dragon Balls and summoning the dragon. Now, Hercule, Yamcha, Goku, Bulma, and everybody else still trapped, so they can't see what's going on yet. Pilaf is ready to summon the dragon, and summons Shenron for the very first time. And nobody can really see what's going on. But through a small crack, where Puar and Oolong escaped in the original, Hercule sees Shenron and starts freaking the crap out. Is this the dragon that they were talking about? Getting a wish? He could just yell out that he wants to be the strongest man in the world right now, but he's too scared. This is all very bewildering to him. So, it's up to Puar and Oolong to get out there and stop Pilaf from getting his wish, because Hercule can't fit through there, and I'm not sure that even Shenron would hear his voice, even if he wanted to be the strongest. Oolong wishes for the panties, like the original. Oh my god, I hate that. And Goku turns into the Great Ape form, after looking at the moon. And Hercule, let's just say that he's gonna need some serious therapy. But after seeing all this, and inspired past belief to want to train with Roshi and become the world's strongest man, I still don't think that he would be necessarily willing to give that up. He's still gonna want to fight and everything. And he's bonded with Goku quite well. Him and Goku, from their sparring matches and stuff, they've actually grown pretty close. Then we get to the scene on Master Roshi's Island where Krillin makes a first-time appearance. Hercule making fun of him a little bit, and this kind of angers Krillin. Tries to fight back, Hercule just knocks him out. And that all pretty much goes per normal. And Hercule, after using Rolling Hercule Punch and Dynamite Kick further, pretty much almost mastering the Dynamite Kick, tries to learn up a new move that he would go to call his Ultra Megaton Punch. And if you're wondering why I'm coming up with his signature moves here and then, it's because he'd be training way sooner. Then we get to the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. But it's gonna go a lot differently than you might assume. Hercule meets with Jackie Chun, who he does not know to be Master Roshi at the time, and unfortunately gets eliminated by him in the preliminaries. And this greatly upsets him. All of his training for nothing? But on the bright side, he does get to watch the tournament and maybe figure out how this Jackie Chun, he just seems so familiar to Master Roshi. But he isn't able to watch the end results of the tournament in its entirety, even though Kid Goku, we all know, lost, with slightly more of an advantage because he's stronger. He sees and hears of a famous singer named Miguel, and he's actually quite captivated by her. He really gets a fondness for her, and he feels like this might not be the first time that they will meet at the World Martial Arts Tournament. Everything after that goes the same, leading up to the events of the Red Ribbon Army. And that's where we leave things for the moment. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 3 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on the channel. And that What If topic regards, what if Hercule was a Z fighter, or what if he basically mattered more in Dragon Ball Z? Now I know he helped Goku with the Spirit Bomb back with Boo and stuff, and he does amount to at least something, but I mean like in the early days of Dragon Ball. What if he was around with Goku and Bulma on their adventures to get the Dragon Balls, before he went to the Satan Dojo, or Satan Dojo, whatever you want to call it? He would actually matter more here, and develop an actual friendship with Goku. He would go on to basically using some of his signature moves in the original a lot sooner than what he did, perfecting this episode, or around this episode, his Dynamite Kick, almost perfecting one of his other signature attacks, the Rolling Hercule Punch, and learning a lot along the way. Also going on to develop the newest of his category of moves, the Ultra Megaton Punch. And him actually, like, that overinflated ego that he had in the original, it would dial down a lot sooner, which means that right now, he's a lot better of a person than he was, and stronger than he was, reaching past the levels of many old Dragon Ball foes, and getting into the realms of the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, in which he would be in the preliminaries fighting against the likes of Jackie Chun, which he would later discover to be Master Roshi. And unfortunately for Hercule, my friends, he would lose to Jackie Chun in the preliminaries, so he wouldn't even be able to get into the actual matches. But, he would get to see a little bit of the action, and you'll see why I say a little bit in a sec here. The tournament would basically go the same, except everyone, including Goku, would be a lot stronger. But the end results would ultimately be the same. Now, while the tournament is going on, Hercule meets the famous singer Miguel and sees something within her. He can't quite place it yet, but she's stunning, and he feels like this won't be the first time that they meet. After the tournament, and everyone goes back to Kame House, Hercule decides to pick up on another new technique while he's perfecting his Ultra Megaton Punch, Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist attack. Now, I'm pretty sure Yamcha would indulge in teaching him the move, and he would study it from what he saw from Yamcha. But as for Kid Goku, his adventures alone with the Red Ribbon Army, that would all go the same. He would defeat Colonel Silver, General White, Meat Eater. All that would pretty much go the same. There's not really any true way to really divulge that without going into something crazy. So all that would go the same up until the point where him and Bulma are on General Blue's island and diving down to get the Dragon Ball there, but can't, and they have to go to Master Roshi's. That stuff goes down per normal. Basically everything goes per normal until they have to go to Kame House and meet with Master Roshi and tell him about the Dragon Ball and that they need a submarine. Now, while Goku and Bulma have been off doing their thing, and before they arrived at Kame House, the Earthlings have been busy of late, with Hercule being the busiest of them all, and he's basically the strongest human now, that we know of, aside from Goku. Well, we know he's not human, but anyway, he's beginning to understand the Wolf Fang Fist, and even maximized his Ultra Megaton Punch. Master Roshi sees a different person within Hercule now. The person that he saw before, when it was just the three of them, he seems so overinflated with ego and just weak. He's definitely impressed. But anyways, Hercule decides to go along with Krillin, Goku, and Bulma to General Blue's island to recover the Dragon Ball buried deep beneath the seafloor. Now, them getting to the island and everything, that goes per normal, and they take the submarine down to go ahead and get the Dragon Ball. But little do they know that General Blue is hot on their tail. But it might not be as easy of a fight for him as it was before with just 3 people. Or 2 fighters, that is. They then meet the pirate robot down below, and the fight is actually much more easy this time with Hercule backing up Goku and Krillin. So the pirate robot is defeated a lot sooner, which means the Earthlings have more time before General Blue catches up to them. Now, per the usual, Krillin and Bulma are stuck on one side of the deep underground ocean mine, whatever you want to call it, by themselves, and them getting into the pirates' cave with all the gold and stuff and finding the Dragon Ball, that all goes per normal. Except there's going to be a big change. Along with Kid Goku being on his own, Hercule is with him. And they both have to try and find a way to catch up, but they have a little bit more time because General Blue isn't as caught up to them as he was per normal because the pirate robot was defeated a lot sooner. But he does catch up to them, and he has his fight with Krillin like the original. But Krillin is actually able to hold his own a lot better because with Hercule around, he's gotten a lot stronger. And before General Blue can even unleash his telekinesis attack against Krillin, Hercule and Goku get there in time. And Hercule is the next one that wants to go ahead and fight General Blue. Because he is now more determined than ever to show off his new traits. And he gives General Blue a pretty nasty beatdown because Krillin already gave him kinda one. It is then that General Blue busts out his telekinesis and Hercule is unable to do anything. Krillin tries to step in, but General Blue threatens to kill him if he does anything. Threatens to kill Hercule if Krillin does anything. It is then at that moment that Kid Goku delivers a powerful drop kick straight to the General's face, ultimately knocking him out, almost completely killing him. And whenever the cave starts to collapse, everyone gets out except with one major change. General Blue actually dies amongst all the rubble and stuff and all the water and drowns, which means that he will never go on to follow the group and get headbutted by a rally, and he would have never had the thing of getting killed by Mercenary Tao, which means it would take Commander Red a little bit longer to figure out General Blue's location. And when he figures out that he is dead by the result of 4 people even, he decides to send in Mercenary Tao to get the Dragon Balls and kill those who've killed all of his men, or, almost all of his men. So, after that, everything goes for normal until Captain Yellow and his men go to the Korin's land and Boar's village and attack him. That would all be just like it was in the original. And then, sadly, Mercenary Tao would still kill Bora here. And by that point, Hercule and Goku are the only ones there to be able to fight. And this time, the fight is going to be a lot different and a bit harder the first time for Mercenary Tao. We're not going to get multiple fights this time. This battle is going to be decided in one fight. Now, we know in the original, whenever these fights happen, Kid Goku was the first one to fight, and that would result in him having to fight multiple times before he could even kill Mercenary Tao. But with their advanced training and the fact that Hercule is there to back him up, they have a much better advantage, which means that right from the get-go, Mercenary Tao would have to get serious. But even this, with Hercule and Goku's combined powers and Hercule learning even the Wolf Fang Fist and all these new moves, this tag team is very unique and more than the General can stand. He is almost completely, instantly injured in just a few minutes of the fight. It is then that he has to bust out his signature move, the Dodon Ray, which catches everyone by surprise, but Hercule and Goku, with all the sparring they've done, and just advanced techniques, they move out of the way of the beam, since they have had so much time teaming up. General Tao then tries to bust out his blade, but, like the original in the second duel between Kid Goku and Tao, the sword breaks with the power pole. Tao then tries a last-ditch effort to use a bomb to blow up the two, but we all know how that ended. He basically gets blown to smithereens, but we know he'll come back later as Cyborg Tao, but that's another part to the story, not now. And with that, General Tao is defeated. And Hercule is definitely a lot prouder, even though he had to have Goku's help too. He's definitely a lot happier than he was like when he was ready to give up fighting. But there's still one more thing that they have to do before they leave, and it all lies at the heart of Korin's tower. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 4 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And that regards one of the weaker, kind of less important people of the show, Hercule. And what if he became a Z fighter in the early days of Dragon Ball and joined up with Goku and Bulma to find the Dragon Balls instead of going to the Satan Dojo? Well, it would impact a lot, and not just in the rounds of Hercule. It would also impact the other characters' strength and their behavior going forward. But on to the subject of Hercule, many of his trademark moves that he would use in the original, he would learn a lot sooner, perfecting them too, with the dynamite kick being perfected, along with the rolling Hercule punch, and also almost completely perfecting his Ultra Megaton punch. And, as an added bonus, from him training with Goku and fighting against Yamcha and other people, he picks up on Yamcha's trademark move, the Wolf Fang Fist, almost using it even better than Yamcha himself, making Yamcha proud but jealous at the same time. He would also develop a lifelong friendship with Goku, but considering the fact that he's younger than Hercule, it's still a good relationship. It's just that one's older than the other and stuff. Anyway, to recap the last episode in short terms in order of importance, Hercule and Kid Goku with their combined might were able to defeat Mercenary Tao in the first fight rather than Kid Goku having to come back a second time. But before the fight with Mercenary Tao, because of Bora's influence and also Upa bringing up the same fact, Hercule and Kid Goku still have one trial to do before they leave the land of Korin and go off to the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, Korin's Tower. So the two of them climb the tower and come face to face with Master Korin himself. Now, the only difference here with the whole training regiment and getting the sacred water, which would turn out to be normal tap water, which would be Hercule would be there along with Goku. Aside from that, though, as I said, the training regiment would be the exact same, aside from Hercule being there. And Korin would be very impressed at the two of these guys' commitment and friendship. And because of the training and the sacred water, Hercule, aside from Goku, as far as we know, is basically the strongest next to him. But we'll know later that, well, hero-wise, he's the strongest next to him, aside from Tien, who would later become a hero. But I'm not going to spoil that right away. Anyway, we get on to Hercule, Goku, and everybody else going to the Red Ribbon Army headquarters, ready to finish off the Red Ribbon Army once and for all. And a lot of stuff is going to happen here, which makes a lot of the story from the original different. For one thing, when we get to the fight with Colonel Violet and Yamcha, before, they were basically evading each other, like in the original anime, and it was more or less an even fight. But with Hercule there, and more people inspired to train, including Yamcha himself, that means that Yamcha is a decent ways stronger than he was in the original. So he would defeat Colonel Violet rather easily. Then, we get to the fight with Kid Goku, Hercule, and General Black. And with Hercule's help, General Black is pushed into a corner a lot sooner, and that means that he is going to end up killing Commander Red also a lot sooner too. Not by too much, but a sort of decent amount of time. But then we get to the part which changes a lot. The fight when General Black pulls out his giant mech robot, which proves to be a lot for even the tag team friendship duo. Now, they are able to hold themselves on their own, but then Hercule tries some of his trademark moves, But, unfortunately, the dynamite kick seems to be the only thing that threw General Black off. Other than that, he's not really doing much in the grand scheme of things. And this is just making him mad. And it's up to Goku to take care of him once and for all. And after that, the Red Ribbon Army and everybody else there is defeated pretty much like the same way, except with Hercule's help. But Hercule is more or less bewildered. Not like bewildered, but now he's having some deep thought. He's now realized that he can't just rely on combat maneuvers anymore. All of his trademark moves, except the dynamite kick, were useless. So, he finally realizes that he has to step out of his comfort zone and his shell. So, he talks to Goku about this, and decides to ask him if he can learn energy attacks. Specifically, Goku's trademark move, well, Master Roshi's, then Goku's, the Kamehameha wave. Goku, after hearing this, would be amazed, proud, and surprised at the same time that Hercule would go to that length. He said that he wouldn't do this, but Hercule insists that this is what he wants. So, Goku agrees. So he teaches Hercule some maneuvers in the Kamehameha just before the Fortune Teller Baba arc, in which Krillin fights Fangs the Vampire, actually doing better than he did originally. He's definitely able to hold his own against the vampire a lot better. Even though he still gets his blood sucked, he's able to push him off while still being obviously dazed, forcing Fangs to go into bat mode. But Krillin's still able to defeat him, which means, even though it's a small change, Upa and Puar don't have to step in to help. And that means Krillin gets to go fight the Invisible Man. But unfortunately, due to his still blood loss and his exhaustion from Fangs, Yamcha would have to be the one to step in to defeat the Invisible Man, which would kind of go the same way that it did originally, except with much better ease from Yamcha. Then Yamcha would go on to fight Bandages the Mummy, which would be almost an even fight, with Yamcha almost even winning against the Mummy, but still losing. Hercule would be the next one in line to fight, and with Bandages having fought Yamcha and almost losing, Hercule would almost defeat him right then and there, because Bandages would be low on stamina and he would be tired, which means Hercule would go on to fight Spike the Devilman. Now, because of Hercule's teachings with the Kamehameha and the Devil Might Beam not having any effect because Hercule's not evil, Hercule would still win here. Devilman would still pull out his pitchfork, and that would be a surprise, but with all of Hercule's trademark moves, and even some teachings for the Kamehameha wave, Hercule would actually be able to win here, surprising everybody of how much he has grown. But then we get to the fight of Grandpa Gohan, and he insists, well, unbeknownst to everyone that he's Grandpa Gohan, he insists that he fights Goku alone, with no interruptions. Hercule's hesitant at first, because this could be a plot to try and kill him, but he complies, and that fight goes the exact same way that it does originally. The Pilaf gang tries their attempt afterwards, but they fail, obviously. And then we get into the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, in which, by this point, Hercule knows who Jackie Chun is, and this time, Hercule actually makes it past the preliminaries. That was kind of a tongue twister there, with two P's. He actually gets past the preliminaries and gets into the tournament. And I think that this time, he might even get more acquainted with Miguel. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball what if topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 5 of my first Dragon Ball what if topic here on the channel, and that is, what if Hercule was a Z fighter? Or basically, what if he was much more relevant in the world of Dragon Ball than he was before? Now, he did help against Boo, and I do give him credit for that, but in the long term, he really didn't do much. So, in this story, I have him doing a lot, being best friends with Goku for life, and getting a lot stronger too, perfecting a lot of his old trademark moves that he would later demonstrate on Cell, and against people like 18 and stuff like that. After meeting Goku and going on the adventure for the Dragon Balls, he would master the Dynamite Kick, his Rolling Hercule Punch, later using the Ultra Megaton Punch and perfecting that, and after the scuffle with Yamcha the Desert Bandit in the desert for the first time, he would then pick up Yamcha's trademark Wolf Fang Fist and even use it to a better advantage than Yamcha. But he never resorted to energy blasts, even when he was trained by Master Roshi. But when Kid Goku and himself fought against the likes of General Black, that is when Hercule realized that simple combat won't cut it. It's not always going to win a fight. And his ego isn't overinflated in this story. So, he asks his now fond friend Goku to teach him the Kamehameha, since he was able to use it the first time he saw Roshi use it. And he gets to learn about that. Just in time for Fortune Teller Baba's saga to come along, and the start of the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, and where we pick up our story today. Now, this also means the start of the Tien Shenhan saga, which will go somewhat differently than the original. For one thing, everyone, including Hercule, since he's there too now, knows the identity of Jackie Chun. And also, because of Hercule's great progress, he makes it past the preliminaries, advancing on to the actual tournament itself. Now, in the last episode, I stated that Hercule and Miguel, the famous singer who he would later meet and have Videl in the original series, whenever I said last episode they're going to meet and actually have more than just Hercule paying a glance at her, I'll explain more on that near the end. But we get on to the tournament, and the first match being Yamcha and Tien Shenhan. Now, this fight goes similarly to how it played out in the anime, albeit with an exception. Yamcha is noticeably stronger here, giving Tien a much harder fight than he would have anticipated from the likes of this guy. So, with the fight going on a lot more desperately, Tien doesn't have to use the Tri-Beam, but he does have to get serious. Now, with the energy he would have exerted from this now stronger Yamcha, that makes me wonder whether or not he would still break Yamcha's leg, or have the strength to. I'm going to say, with Yamcha's increased strength, that he does not break the leg, but he still loses. Yamcha still loses. Anyway, we get on to the next match, being Jackie Chun and Manwolf. And not really much would change there. That would be the exact same match. Then we get on to the fight between Krillin and Chaozu. And just like Yamcha, with Krillin's increased power from training and Hercule being there, Krillin defeats Chaozu a lot more easily this time around. Then we get on to the fight with Kid, Goku, and Panput at the end of the first round, and that pretty much goes down per normal. Kid Goku defeats Panput like the same exact way. Then the next match is with Tien. Now hold on a second. You guys might be wondering, why I'm already going on to the next round. It's because putting in another fighter for Hercule to be in the tournament wouldn't really make sense. So, I'm going to make Hercule step in to the second round. Now, I know that would be kind of weird for the tournament, but I feel like if it was an odd number of fighters, that they would make it work. So, Hercule does not get to fight until the second round, but he's okay with that. He's going to fight the likes of Tien Shenhan, and this time, wearing his trademark cape for the very first time. Now, he hasn't won any tournaments, but he decided to pick up the cape as a sort of, I don't know, status to, like, he's becoming the strongest. Now, besides the Wolf Fang Fist, which is easy to counter since Tien knows the move from Yamcha, all of Hercule's moves are throwing Tien for a loop. He's like, he can hold his own, but with his fight with Yamcha, he has to get, like, serious almost right off the bat. So, when all else fails, Tien has to bust out his Solar Flyer technique, which blinds Hercule, and Tien is able to knock him out. Albeit, he is very beaten up at this point. Like, Yamcha gave him a somewhat decent fight. Not enough to beat him, like, a lot. Hercule's now, like, Tien's, like, now half beaten up. So, anyway, Hercule is okay with this. He at least got to fight in the tournament, for one thing. And for two, he gets to go and meet Miguel. This time he's actually going to meet her. Now, like I said, I'll explain more on that later. Now, we get to the next match, which would be Krillin and Jackie Chun again. Albeit, Krillin is a lot stronger this time. Now, he isn't able to warrant Jackie Chun's full attention, like, get him, like, super serious, but he is able to give him a somewhat decent fight. But in the end, Krillin loses. Now, then we have Kid Goku and Tien. Now, this fight would play out, like, pretty much the same way that it did in the anime, except that Tien has exerted, like, a lot more strength this time around. So he actually uses the Tri-Beam a bit sooner in the match. The match isn't even this long this time, but I feel like he would come out on top regardless, with the whole truck incident and everything. Then we get on to the final match, which would be Tien and Jackie Chun, which would happen at the end of the tournament instead of the match before. Like I said, the tournament's a little different this time, even with Hercule not in it. Anyway, with Tien pretty much having exerted all of his strength, Jackie Chun just knows this, and I feel like he would either just jump out of the ring for pity, or just knock him out and just be done with it. Either way, the tournament would be over, and Hercule would actually get to talk to Miguel for the first time, and get to know her a little. And Miguel would be interested in hearing all about Hercule's travels, and hearing about his friendship with Goku. She would be a little dazed at the whole energy thing in combat, but she would agree with it. And then Hercule would ask her if she'd like to join them on their quest. But, unfortunately for him, he doesn't get the answer out of her, because they hear two people fighting in another round of the tournament. Krillin and a winged fighter that might cause trouble. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today, we are getting in to part 6 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel as of now, and that is, what if Hercule was a Z fighter, the world martial arts champion of the original, actually living up to his title? How would this impact the story? Well, I took some liberties in the story of putting him in the place of going to the Satan Dojo, but exploring a lot more, like before he went. And this is how he would wind up with Kid Goku and Bulma on their adventures to get the Dragon Balls. And he would actually join them instead of going to the Satan Dojo and becoming lifelong friends with Goku. He would also master all of his trademark moves a lot sooner. The Dynamite Kick, the Rolling Hercule Punch, and the Ultimate Megaton Punch. After that, after their encounter with Yamcha the Desert Bandit, he would also pick up on Yamcha's trademark move, the Wolf Fang Fist Attack, using it even better than Yamcha himself, much to Yamcha's chagrin and kinda happiness. And then after none of his attacks except the Dynamite Kick working on Staff Officer Black, Hercule would then go on to ask his young friend Goku to teach him the Kamehameha Wave, which would be like one of the only moves that he has learned up until this point. The 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament has officially begun starting in this episode. And just like everybody else, Hercule knows the identity of Jackie Chun is Master Roshi. Also, he fought him in the preliminaries, the last tournament, and got ultimately beaten. Now, we also got introduced to Tien Shenhan. Of course we did. And Hercule didn't fight until the second round because of the odd number of participants. I was thinking of adding someone for, like, creative reasons, just to be the even number, but I just made it odd for simplicity's sake. Anyway, Hercule would put up an amazing fight against the Three-Eyed Warrior, but that would only be until Tien pulls out the Solar Flare and beats him. But Hercule at least got what he wanted to fight in the tournament. He's gotten better. Now, this would also give him a chance to work up the nerve that he wanted to from the first tournament and actually go and meet Miguel and actually talk to her. And it actually worked out. He told her about their adventures with the Dragon Balls, Goku and everything, and even asked if she wanted to come along for the ride. Now, before he could get a definitive answer, they hear scuffling in another part of the arena, and it turns out that someone is being attacked. And this is where we get the entrance of the King Piccolo saga, in which Tambourine initially killed Krillin with one kick. Whenever everybody hears what's going on, they see the winged fighter Tambourine fighting against Krillin. And this time it's actually a fight because this Krillin is a lot stronger than the Krillin from before. So he's actually putting up somewhat of a better fight than he did originally. But just as when it seems like he's losing ground, Goku then steps in and elbows the Lizard Man right then and there, because no Lizard Man like this is going to kill his friend. No siree. And then Hercule and everybody else that's in the room, they all kill Tambourine together. He's no kind of match. Now, we then get introduced to King Piccolo, who senses Tambourine's death because, you know, he came from him. And this worries him a lot. He did not expect Tambourine to be taken out so quickly. He then resorts to Symbol, who he then cautions to be much more careful than his brother, because he doesn't want to lose him like he did Tambourine. He wants this killing all the martial arts plan to go full-fledged. So, Symbol takes a stealthier approach into killing the martial artists. Now, for those of you thinking that Kid Goku and the Yajirobe thing's not going to happen because Krillin lived, well, that's where you be wrong. Because I think that even though Krillin did not die to Tambourine, Kid Goku and everyone would still want to know who did this. They would then hear about King Piccolo and that he is a very dangerous foe. But Master Roshi feels confident that they can take him, and they just need to find him. Hercule would then talk to Miguel and whether or not she should stay here. Part of her wants to come along because she's new to the whole idea of, like, energy blasts and everything else, but Hercule more or less pleads that she stays here. He doesn't want her to end up dead. So, the chase is on to find King Piccolo. On their adventure, and Goku still wanting to have a fish, they then meet Yajirobe in typical fashion, but with many more people, I doubt that he would really want to put up a fight. This time there's no Yajirobe versus Goku. Symbol would then try and sneak up against all of them, but everyone would just trounce him right then and there. There's no way Symbol can survive this. He tried and failed at the tactical approach. King Piccolo is now both worried and angry. He then makes his presence known to everyone. Now, for those of you thinking that this is still going to be a hard fight, even though King Piccolo in his old form is still strong, pretty much every one of the warriors, Goku, Tien, Hercule, Krillin, they're all there, including Master Roshi. Now, they all were basically told that King Piccolo needs to be sealed. Just stopping him like this, will give him too much time to think of a plan against them. He needs to be sealed, this time once and for all. So after he is outnumbered and outmatched, Master Roshi then uses the evil containment wave and seals Piccolo forever. And I ultimately think that after seeing the Pilaf gang, they would then find out that they released him, and Hercule would debate on killing them, but Goku would decide against it and tells them to scram, pretty much, and don't try anything. Piano, of course, tries to revolt, but he instantly just gets freaking annihilated. He can't survive. But because of King Piccolo getting sealed this time around, that means there's no Piccolo Jr. here. The Piccolo that we know and love is nothing. Kami is the only Namekian now on planet Earth. The sole Namekian. There is no Piccolo anymore. For now. Tien and Chaozu would then join the Z team, or Z Fighters if you want to be politically correct. And after everything is said and done, if Master Roshi were to still pass even though the evil containment wave worked, the Dragon Balls would then be used to fix any and all damage, including reviving Master Roshi. And everything would be said and done for the King Piccolo arc. But not so. After hearing about King Piccolo's death and seeing it, Korin would then send a message. As a reward for saving the world, he would then invite Goku and Hercule, because he trained both of them, to get the Ultra Divine Water. That's right, Hercule's gonna get it as well as Goku. I didn't make them lifelong friends for nothing. Goku, of course, gets the Ultra Divine Water, and as we know, he gets the power-up. Amazing Hercule. But he's still skeptical of the fact that Goku could have died from it. Because if you don't have the right heart and mind, it will kill you. Hercule then tries it, and at first, it's definitely troubling because he thinks he's gonna die, but he's okay, and his powers increase exponentially. Afterwards, the two are about to set off, thanking Korin for everything. But just then, they get approached by a man on a magic carpet that says that the Guardian of Earth wants to see them. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 7 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And that one is, what if Hercule / Mr. Satan, the world martial arts champion from the original Dragon Ball continuity, was a Z fighter? Now, how would this be possible, you might ask? Well, if you haven't been a fan of the series thus far and haven't been up to date, give you a quick recap. So, I stage Hercule meeting Kid Goku and Bulma early on in Dragon Ball on their way to get the Dragon Balls. And instead of going to the Satan Dojo, Hercule travels along with them and even develops a lifelong friendship with the young Saiyan, although nobody knows he's a Saiyan yet, but you guys know what I mean. And a lot of his trademark moves, Hercule, he would master way earlier on, those of which being the Dynamite Kick, the Rolling Hercule Punch, and the Ultra Megaton Punch. And then after fighting Yamcha the Desert Bandit for the first time alongside Goku, he would then pick up on Yamcha's trademark move, the Wolf Fang Fist Attack, even using it better than the bandit himself, much to Yamcha's chagrin and sort of happiness. And then after none of his attacks except the Dynamite Kick working on Staff Officer Black, he would then ask his young friend Goku to teach him the Kamehameha Wave and become pretty efficient with that, learning his first ever energy attack. Then, the time of the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament comes around, and after losing to Tien after giving him a really good fight, Hercule would then finally come face to face with Miguel and talk to her, telling her about the adventures he's had, and even asking her to join. Meanwhile, before he gets the full answer out of her for the meantime, Tambourine is attacking Krillin, because it's the King Piccolo arc, and since Krillin is much stronger, everyone rushes in and trounces Tambourine before he can land a decisive killing blow. Miguel then states that she's eager to learn more about Hercule and everybody else, whilst in another part of the planet, King Piccolo sees the Tambourine has passed and summons Symbol to do the World Martial Arts killings in Tambourine's stead, instead taking on a more subtle approach. But on their way to find King Piccolo, after hearing about him from Master Roshi, they find Symbol and he is utterly killed, meeting Yajirobe in the process. Then King Piccolo comes in to fight, and suffice it to say, with almost all the warriors ganging up on him, King Piccolo is outmatched and outmanned. So, Master Roshi takes that time to use the evil containment wave, and this time around, actually sealing the Demon King. And afterwards, Piano is obviously disposed of, but then everyone interrogates the Pilaf gang, still being angry that someone was literally out to get them, and figure out that the Pilaf gang summoned him. But they're still spared. Kid Goku's not that heartless, because it's Goku, come on. Anyway, as a thank you from Korin, he lets Goku and Hercule get the Ultra Divine Water, as a thank you of saving the world from King Piccolo's tyranny. So, Kid Goku gets the water like normal, and Hercule gets it also, surprising Goku even that, besides himself, Hercule's now the strongest fighter, as he pretty much wanted, giving him a lot of bravado, but Goku saw that right away from whenever they first met, and since learning more about him, he's dialed that down a lot. Anyway, to wrap up the recap of what happened last time, just before they're about to leave, they encounter a man on a magic carpet, Mr. Popo, who says that the Guardian of Earth wishes to train them. Now, anxious to learn more, Hercule and Goku accept this proposition, and they are transported on the magic carpet to the top of the lookout, Kami's lookout. Now, after reaching the top of the lookout, Mr. Popo explains more about the trainings of the Guardian of Earth, and if they want to receive the full special training from the Guardian of Earth himself, Kami, that they're going to have to beat him in a sparring match and prove that their strength is even worth the Guardian of Earth's time. And Hercule and Goku aren't ones to back down a challenge. So, Hercule rushes in first, proclaiming that he's going to get the training as soon as possible, with Goku backing him up because the two are friends. And this combined tag team and this raw power is much more than Mr. Popo would have bargained for, even leading him to having to get serious. But this tag team is like far too much, surprising the Guardian of Earth's attendant. It is definitely noticeable that these two work in complete coordination. Despite being complete different ages from each other, these two have, like, almost no limits. The power coming off of them both is astounding. Even one of them alone gives Mr. Popo a hard time, but both, they pretty much win the match. And he then calls out for Kami. Then, since Mr. Popo lost and part of the deal, Kami makes his face known. And whenever he steps out, the figure is dark at first, but then they see him in full view. Hercule and Goku both see Kami and rush at him, thinking that this is King Piccolo and that they somehow got out of the evil containment wave and that their efforts were for naught. But as soon as they rush him, Kami just effortlessly pushes them aside. But he is definitely noted about their powers and friendship, and he's more than eager to train the both of them. Neither of them are looking to fulfill the role of Guardian of Earth, but they're definitely suitable training people for his lookout, because they did, after all, seal King Piccolo, so it's noted that they deserve this. Speaking of Piccolo, as I stated before, King Piccolo is sealed within the evil containment wave jar, which was also given to Kami. So, Kami has full custody over King Piccolo, which means no Piccolo Jr., which means also whenever the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament does come around, there is no Hero, Kami disguised as Hero, because there's no need. Why would he even need to bother outside of maybe seeing the tournament? Anyway, we get a brief time skip. Well, brief in our eyes, of course, because of Dragon Ball. And we get to see Goku grow up into his teen years, developing a power of almost 400 instead of 322, like the original. Hercule would be a very close second, with his power level now being amongst the lines of 380, because he has had regular time to spar with Goku, and with Kami's training, that's just added on. So, yeah, these two are the strongest as of now, because we know that's definitely not going to be the case for long. Anyway, we get into the marks of the 23rd World Tournament, getting introduced to Cyborg Tao, much to even Hercule's dismay. The tournament then progresses as normal, Tien beating Cyborg Tao, Goku meeting Chi-Chi and having to beat her, but since there is no Hero and no Piccolo, that means Krillin and Yamcha actually get to fight each other. But it's obvious to note that even with Yamcha's Spirit Ball, Krillin wins this by default. Anyway, we get a similar scene after, with Hercule fighting against Tien. And the two are very eager to fight with each other, considering the fact that whenever they first fought, Tien was more along the lines just trying to kill him, get him out of the way. And he definitely wants to see how Hercule's progressed training with the God of Earth. And the two fight, with Hercule obviously outmanning Tien. But Tien then brings out the Tri-Form, which does at first catch Hercule off guard. But with all of his training, this is just a minor setback. Hercule is notably stronger than even the Tri-Form, and Tien gets thrown out, complimenting Hercule on a job well done, considering the fact that he lost last time. Afterwards, we then get on to the next match, which would be Goku versus Krillin, and suffice it to say that Krillin's pretty much toast here. Yeah, Goku just one-shots him, like Chi-Chi. We then get to the finale of the tournament. Goku against Hercule. Now, these two, they have sparred a lot, but they haven't had, like, a real full-on fight since, like, ever. So, they are very eager to get this fight on. This is going to be the most epic fight, possibly even more epic than King Piccolo whenever he was Piccolo Jr. and they fought. Anyway, the fight progresses, with the two being remotely even. Hercule bringing out every single trump card that he can, even coming up with some new variations of his moves. But, in the end, Goku is noticeably stronger. With him knowing about Hercule's techniques and stuff is definitely easy to counter. Hercule knowing the same about Goku. So the two have a long, dramatic fight, but Goku being the MVP overall. Afterwards, everything that happens after would go remotely the same. Goku and Chi-Chi would still get married. Goku would have his son Gohan, like the original. And another thing to point out here, Videl would still be born here. Now, Miguel would sadly have passed sometime, like, between this time, I feel, so it would just be him and Videl. But Hercule decides with Videl to stay with Goku, so they can train regularly, because without him, Hercule would have never gotten as strong as he did. He feels like the Satan Dojo would have never prepared him for this. And a long time of peace ensues, until the Saiyan arc, which is where we will leave things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today, we are getting in to part 8 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel, and that is, what if Hercule was a Z fighter? Now, how would it impact the story? Short answer, it would impact it a lot. I basically stuck him around, like, the time where I was looking for the Satan Dojo in the early days of Dragon Ball. Instead of taking that route, however, I chose him to go along the path with Goku and Bulma for the Dragon Balls, which would then spike a lifelong friendship between the two. And Hercule becoming pretty much the second strongest, and mastering all of his trademark moves, the Dynamite Kick, the Rolling Hercule Punch, and his Ultra Megaton Punch. And after facing Yamcha in the desert, he would then go on to use Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist attack even better than Yamcha. And then after none of his attacks except the Dynamite Kick having any effect on Staff Officer Black, he would then ask Goku to teach him the rules of the Kamehameha, his first ever energy attack. Then, when we got onto the events of the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, we actually see Hercule and Miguel actually talking this time and getting to know each other. So Videl is still going to be born here, despite it having a very different, like, introduction to it. And as I said before, Hercule, aside from Goku, as far as we know, because there's still a lot more people in Dragon Ball, these two are the strongest right now. Now, to put a short recap for the last episode, the two were trained by the Guardian of Earth, Kami, after King Piccolo was sealed with the evil containment wave by Master Roshi, which the container would then be given to Kami for safekeeping. Anyway, Kami would be very impressed at Goku and Hercule's prowess and, like, their friendship and such. And the Goku would see much more gains than he did originally. Now, with the 23rd tournament coming up, Piccolo Jr. doesn't exist. So, that means Kami won't have to disguise himself as Hero. Now, speaking of the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, that goes pretty much the same up until the point where Krillin would originally have fought Piccolo Jr. and Yamcha would have fought against Kami, Hero. So these two would fight each other. with Krillin being the victor despite Yamcha's good array of moves. Then we get on to the second round, in which we see a familiar scene. Hercule, after all of his training by the way, is at a power level now of 390, or whatever I said in the last video, I can't remember. Anyway, his opponent is Tien once again, and Tien hasn't gotten soft either. This fight would go almost the way Goku and Tien did in the original 23rd tournament, except Hercule is much stronger than that Goku, and Tien's multi-form's the only thing that throws him off, so Hercule wins. Anyway, Goku would then go on to fight Krillin, and I'm sure you can guess how well that would go. Now, for the final match of the tournament, as I said, Hercule would be nearing the power level of 400, well, almost there, and Goku would be either at 400 or a little past that with the training of Hercule and the Guardian of Earth. So, these two would fight in the final match, with Goku obviously being the victor. Now, the tournament would go much more smoothly as a result of no Piccolo. So Goku and Chi-Chi still get married, Gohan is still born, and here's another thing. Around that same time, Videl is born. So, as I said, we still get Videl here. But sadly, Miguel passes similarly to how we were told that she passed in the original. But don't think these two are gonna just lead their own lives, because Hercule likes Goku, especially after all that he's been taught from him. He wants to get stronger and maybe even teach Videl some more strength too, and Goku thinks the same about Gohan. So, the two actually live with each other, and peace ensues until Raditz makes his way to Earth in an effort to see if Kakarot, Goku, has completed his mission of wiping out all of humanity. And, as before, Raditz goes to find Goku, and everyone's at Kame House for the big reunion, with Hercule and Videl also participating, because, like I said, they live together. Anyway, Raditz would then go to Kame House with no Piccolo, and spill the beans about everything about being a Saiyan and whatnot. He would then whap Krillin after Krillin gets all feisty. After seeing this, Hercule doesn't care if this is Goku's brother. He tries to rush in, but then gets whapped almost the exact same way. And then, Raditz knees Goku right in the gut, the same way that he does before, with it not having as much impact as before, but still a great amount. And then takes Gohan as further incentive to join him and Nappa and Vegeta and the Saiyans. Now, instead of the tag team between Goku and Piccolo, we're getting the tag team between Goku and Hercule, and this tag team is much more beneficial, because these two have been around each other since they were young, and they've come up with a lot of tag team moves in the time of peace, and just around their time together in general. They then go off and go to find Raditz and save Gohan. And when the fight starts, they're able to hold their own amazingly well. And then they both shoot off a Kamehameha attack to combine at Raditz. Now before, when Raditz was blocking Goku's original Kamehameha in the anime, he didn't have he only had a scratch on his arm. But this combined attack from a stronger Goku and Hercule, this actually manages to injure Raditz. Not that bad, but he's still noticeably hurt and angry. After noticing that these two are no joke, and Kakarot's not gonna make this easy, he then charges up his ultimate move, the Be Gone move. The name's translated to Be Gone from Dragon Ball games. But just as when he goes to do that, since the smoke hadn't cleared yet, he couldn't see them, and Goku planned for this. He grabbed Raditz by the tail, because he knew that was his weak point, giving Hercule enough time to charge everything he got into a super powered up dynamite kick. And
with the injury he sustained from the Kamehamehas combined, plus the lack of energy from his tail and dynamite kick, Raditz is pretty much done here. But before he dies, he then gives off note, even though he knows nothing about the Dragon Balls, since no one died here, aside from him. He then tells about Nappa and Vegeta, and that they will come to Earth to avenge him, and make Kakarot pay for betraying the way of the Saiyans. And with that, Raditz dies, albeit a much different way than what he did before. Now, when we're going to be entering the Nappa and Vegeta arc, Goku is still going to train with King Kai. And I know you guys are going to call BS because he didn't die, but I have a reasoning for that. And also, I still think that Vegeta and Nappa are going to go to Earth regardless, if they really think that Kakarot was strong enough to kill Raditz, along with an Earthling. But, to explain that now, would be telling, and I think that that's a decent enough spot to stop the episode for now.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today, and today we are getting into part 9 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel, and that What If topic is, what if Hercule / Mr. Satan was a Z fighter? Now, if you guys don't know Hercule and haven't watched my last parts, Hercule was the original world martial arts champion that went into the Satan Dojo in the early days of Dragon Ball, and is the character you may know from the original. But what if he was stronger like Goku in them? Well, you see, I placed Hercule, instead of going to the Satan Dojo, traveling along with Goku and Bulma on their way to get the Dragon Balls, and becoming lifelong friends with Goku, and mastering all of his techniques, the dynamite kick, the rolling Hercule punch, and the Ultra Megaton punch much more successfully, and even picking up Yamcha's trademark move, the Wolf Fang Fist. Also, after realizing that everything except maybe his dynamite kick didn't work on Staff Officer Black, he would then go on to ask Goku to teach him the Kamehameha, effectively being his first energy-based attack. And on Earth, at this point in the story, Hercule and Goku are the two strongest on Earth. We know they're not the strongest in general, as of now, but they definitely are not two people you want to mess with. Also, in the days of the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, Hercule actually gets to meet and talk to Miguel, so Videl is still born in this scenario, except since Hercule's been around the Z Fighters and Goku, she's going to be hanging around, so her and Gohan are going to have an early relationship, but I'll save that for the future. Anyway, to shortly recap the events of the last episode, Raditz made his appearance to Earth, and the shock of Goku being a Saiyan, an alien, Hercule is definitely taken aback by this, a lot. Raditz then kidnaps Gohan in the typical fashion, but instead of Goku and Piccolo, we have the team up between Goku and Hercule. And since these two have known each other since they were young, this team up is much more successful. Goku and Hercule crafting up some pretty good ideas about how to beat Raditz, even outmanning him. Goku grabbing onto his tail, and Hercule doing an ultimate dynamite kick, finishing off Raditz after they literally outman him in every way, even being more crafty than him. Raditz then gives the spiel that Vegeta and Nappa will come to Earth in 1 year's time to avenge him. Now, I said that Vegeta and Nappa would still probably go to Earth, even though they didn't hear anything about the Dragon Balls, because I feel like with them knowing about, Kakarot being stronger than Raditz and being able to beat him, I still think that they would take that interest and go to Earth. Anyway, I also said that the training with King Kai would still happen. Now, a lot of you who watch this are probably going to call BS on that because Goku never died, but
I'm going to explain a little bit on that. You see, I feel that Kami would sense that with the revelation of two Saiyans even stronger than Raditz coming, he knows that whatever training they get here won't be enough to defeat the Saiyans. So I feel like he would get in touch with King Yema to ask if even just Goku and Hercule can go train with King Kai. I feel like King Yema would oblige by this, knowing how much the two are good friends and knowing how much they've done for the Earth. So Goku and Hercule would then go on to King Yema's place and travel the million-mile Snake Way, ultimately getting there a lot sooner, even though there's two of them, because they've had more successful training. I feel like with two of them, it's going to be a lot faster for them to get to Earth. Or Snake Way, or King Kai's planet, I mean. Messed up there. Anyway, what are we going to do about Kid Gohan, you might ask? Well, he is still going to get training. He's not going to King Kai's because he's far too young. But I feel with enough convincing from Chi-Chi for Goku and Hercule, them trying to convince her, I feel that Gohan would still get training here, but it would be like with the Earthlings at Kami's place. So, that means that Goku and Hercule are both going to learn the Kaioken together. And, by the way, this is a photo collage picture that I edited. I hope you guys like it. It's a recent app that I got to, better explain my scenarios. Anyway, they get back to Earth in time just before Vegeta and Nappa arrive on Earth, which they do in the typical fashion. Also, with Goku and Hercule, they're going to get much more gains out of King Kai's place than Goku did originally. Anyways, Nappa and Vegeta then arrive on Earth, like I said, in typical fashion. Nappa destroys the city, Vegeta berates him, and that pretty much all goes down per normal. The group and the Saiyans meet, that pretty much all happens, except no Piccolo. So no revelations about Namekian and Dragon Balls and such. But the Cybermen are still hatched, and we get the order in which 6 people will fight against 6 of the Cybermen. So, the first fight, Tien versus the Cybermen, goes pretty much how it did originally, except Tien has he defeats the Cybermen a little bit more easy than he does originally, being stronger than he was. Now, then we get to a change in the Saiyan Saga, a noticeable one. Yamcha beats the Cybermen, because he would have definitely been stronger with Hercule around and such, and Goku, and he definitely would be strong enough to take out the Cybermen this time. Then, we get to the next fight, Krillin versus the Cybermen, and I feel that Krillin would defeat the Cybermen here pretty freaking easily. Even in the original Saiyan Saga, I feel like this would not be a problem. Then we get to Chaozu versus Cybermen. Yes, Chaozu's still relevant here because he and Tien would still train, because that honestly is a thing that I feel would never really change in Dragon Ball scenarios. Anyway, with Chaozu's a range of paralysis and Dodon Rays, stuff like that, he would win his fight. Then we get to Cybermen versus Kid Gohan. Now, in the original, Cybermen just punched Gohan and they didn't really fight. But there's going to be changes about this particular encounter. Now, the Cybermen rushes at Gohan, but this Gohan trained with Kami and the Earthlings. He's not as strong as when Piccolo trained him, but he is at least close in a way. He knows how to utilize his power, and he wasn't he didn't get that relationship with Piccolo and such, and he's not as disciplined, but he is still good with his power, and he takes out the Cybermen pretty easily, even though he didn't train with Piccolo. Then we get to another thing. The last fight is Videl fighting a Cyberman. Yes, she's actually trained with Gohan and all the Earthlings. I just chose to keep that a secret. And Videl and Gohan over this time have actually become best friends because they actually like each other. Anyway, on to the fight at hand. The The Cyberman rushes at Videl, but Videl effortlessly kills the Cyberman with just a single justice kick. So it's obvious that Videl would be strong enough to take him out. Goku and Hercule are with the team right now, but they've chosen to stay back because they want to see how everybody else's training would go. Now, Hercule would honestly be unsure was whether Videl and Gohan are going to be safe or not, but Goku would trust in them, and Hercule would trust in his daughter too, that she got good training. As to why Videl didn't go to King Kai's, I feel like it would just be a similar thing with even Gohan. They're too young. Anyway, Nappa then steps in the fray, powering up, and then breaking Tien's arm like he does in the original. That wouldn't really change. Goku and Hercule are still watching, but if any of them tried to intervene, similarly to how Krillin tried, Nappa would just use his Blazing Storm and just get them out of the way. But Tien is putting up a better fight here, even though he did get his arm still broken off. He's not strong enough to avoid that, unfortunately. Now, I feel Chaozu would still sacrifice himself here, knowing, even though he knows everyone else is strong, he doesn't know about Tien. Now, after Tien sees that Chaozu blew himself up, he would then fight Nappa in a blind rage, similarly to how he does, but he would put up a better fight here, so the group wouldn't be as worried just yet, but if they see that Nappa was, ultimately triumphing over him, they would do the same plan that Piccolo thought of in the original to, back him up, see a weakness in him. With Yamcha being the first one to attack right when Nappa charges, Yamcha lands a powerful Wolf Fang kick right on Nappa's chin, with Krillin then teleporting from the sky like he did originally, and delivering a powerful sledgehammer to Nappa's head, and then Videl stepping up from the right angle and attacking Nappa with a powerful justice kick. And this tag team, or triple tag team, is a lot more potent this time than the original. So Nappa's definitely a lot more injured here. And then Tien still does his tri-beam like he does originally for the death of Chaozu, but this time Nappa is much more injured and Tien is a lot more stronger, so he actually lives from this. So as far as everything's gone, Chaozu's been the only one who's died. Now, like I said, Nappa is much more injured here, so that tri-beam is pretty close. He still can fly and manage, but he's definitely severely weakened. Vegeta seeing this and knowing that even Kakarot and the Earthling known as Hercule, the black-haired Earthling, I'm just seeing how Vegeta would refer to him, knowing that they haven't even stepped in, and seeing that the Earthlings are able to do this, he just kills Nappa, knowing that he is not any kind of match. Vegeta then tries his luck, but with Goku and Hercule then stepping in, Vegeta is utterly outnumbered and outmanned. He then tries his trump card and pulls out a power ball, transforming into his Ozaru state. Now, this catches Goku and Hercule's attention in general, because they were able to outman him even in base with all the others, but now they have to actually unleash their Kaiyokens. Now, this does surprise Ozaru Vegeta, but it doesn't really make him scared or anything. He knows that they're still not strong enough to beat him. They are enough to, they're not enough to hurt him, but this is a pretty good power-up. Goku, unfortunately, has to pull out Kaioken times 3, even reducing himself to doing Kaioken times 5, because I feel like that would be where King Kai would tell him to hit the limit, because Kaioken times 3, even 4, would be much more potent here with Hercule being with him, but it still wouldn't be enough. They might be able to get a blow in on Ozaru Vegeta, but it's not enough. And Goku has to pull out his trademark Spirit Bomb technique, with Hercule and everybody else trying to distract Vegeta while Goku's charging it up. And I feel like everyone distracting, it would be good enough distraction for Goku to charge up the Spirit Bomb. And he charges it up to full capacity, or what it would be in the Saiyan Saga, and hits Vegeta square on. And this much stronger variation of the Spirit Bomb, with Goku being stronger and all, I don't know how that would affect anything, but I feel like it would be potent enough. It definitely almost kills Vegeta, and he is forced to get his ship and get off the planet. Now, since there's no Piccolo or anything like that, they still want to kill him, but Goku still says that he wants to fight Vegeta on his own one day and, like, beat him on his own. And I feel like even with Hercule there and everything, they would let him go. And that's the end of the Saiyan arc. But entering into the Namek arc, there's going to be very noticeable changes. For one thing, Frieza doesn't know about the Dragon Balls because Vegeta and Nappa and Raditz were never told about that. So, when we get into the Frieza arc, or what might be the Frieza arc, it's going to play out a lot differently than it did originally. But that is where we're going to stop for right now.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today we are getting into part 10 of my first Dragon Ball What If on this channel. And that one concerns one of the lesser beings, so to speak, of Dragon Ball, Hercule. And this what if concerns, what if he was a Z fighter? Being more than just the martial arts champion of the world and helping to just save Boo and take care of the good Boo. Making him mean more. Now, he originally would go on to the Satan Dojo to become the world martial arts champion. However, in this story, I placed him around the time of the early days of Dragon Ball, joining Goku and Bulma on their adventures to get the Dragon Balls, instead of pursuing his dream for the Satan Dojo. He would then go on to be lifelong friends with Goku, and that would mean a lot. All of his trademark moves, Dynamite Kick, Rolling Hercule Punch, and Ultra Megaton Punch, he would master way earlier on, even picking up Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist the first time they meet him. Also, after none of his attacks except the Dynamite Kick working on Staff Officer Black's mech robot, he would then ask Goku to teach him the Kamehameha Wave, effectively being his first key signature move. So, Earth-based warriors, so to speak, Hercule is right next to Goku. Nobody on Earth can contend with him.
Now, to recap the last episode in short variety, Raditz was defeated, and Vegeta and Nappa were on their way to Earth after hearing that Kakarot and supposedly an Earthling were able to defeat him. They are, like, kinda resistant to go on the fact that that happened, but they want to teach Kakarot and this Earthling a lesson. So, the training with King Kai would still happen because Kami would see it to benefit them, and would work some strings with King Yemma and King Kai himself. So Goku and Hercule go there, and they both learn the Kaioken, getting it even to grade 5. Now, Earthling-wise, they all still train at Kami's lookout like the original, that of which being Yamcha, Tien, Krillin. I feel like Yajirobe would still be there. I feel like he would still be a character here. Anyway, Gohan would also be training with Kami because he was convinced to train by Chi-Chi, but, you know, he still has to train with Kami. He's nowhere near the level to train with King Kai. Anyway, the Saiyans arrive, and surprisingly, Chiaotzu is the only one to die here, still wanting to blow himself up and it being nothing against Nappa. And also something to point out, Videl is present here a lot earlier on. She's about a few months, if not a year older than Gohan, because Hercule and Miguel still met, and Videl was born earlier than Gohan. Actually, like, maybe right after the King Piccolo thing, so yeah. Anyway, Nappa and Vegeta are still defeated here with, like I said, Chiaotzu being the only casualty. with Goku finishing off the fight against Ozaru Vegeta, actually managing to pull off his Spirit Bomb technique with the help of everyone distracting Vegeta. Now, just as he's about to escape, he is still spared here because I feel like with the characters present, even so, Goku would still convince them to spare Vegeta because he would want to defeat him on his own next time. Now, there's going to be a lot of changes going forward. For one thing, since there's no Piccolo or King Piccolo or Piccolo Jr. or none of that present, he would never be there to tell like Raditz about the Dragon Balls, and no one would be there to tell Raditz about the Dragon Balls, and Kami and Piccolo would never like know that they're Namekians. So Frieza doesn't know of the Dragon Balls, and neither do the Saiyans. So the whole Planet Namek sequence is never going to happen. Planet Namek is still there, it's just that everyone there is going to be alive because there's no one to go there. Frieza and his army would just be... I'm going to take a minute before I explain further. Anyway, Vegeta still goes to the same planet and is healed in the incubation chamber. Not the incubation chamber, the healing chamber. Whatever. Anyway, still goes to the Frieza planet and is still healed. After he gets out, he is still berated by Kui, but this time there's no need for Frieza to go to Namek, so Kui more or less is just taunting him, making Vegeta exceptionally angry, but he can't really do anything because he knows Frieza's on the planet, because Kui would spout that off. And, like, a few minutes after, Vegeta sees Frieza, Zarbon, and Dodoria on that planet. Now, why would they be here, you might ask, among all Frieza's other planets? I feel that after hearing Vegeta just got defeated on Earth and Nappa and Raditz were killed, that they would be there. They'd have no reason to leave. Anyway, I feel like the Ginyu Force would be here too. It said that they were on another planet whenever Frieza summoned them to Namek, but I feel, in a way, maybe that they would be on that planet. They could have been on that planet that we saw Vegeta and Kui on and just were never, like, noticed or said or anything. So I'm going to leave that one up to you guys. It's like a half and half. Anyway, Frieza confronts Vegeta and the two pretty much speak alone because Frieza wants this to be a private matter. He is thinking about, like, killing Vegeta for, like, pretty much going off to Earth without telling him and everything else. But he feels like with Nappa and Raditz's death and the fact that Vegeta got his butt whooped anyway, that's enough of a punishment for him. Then he questions Vegeta on the whole arcany, or the whole problem as to what happened with Vegeta. Vegeta, still being, like, somewhat loyal to Frieza because he doesn't really have a choice right now. He's just playing the good cop. He tells Frieza the whole anarchy about what happened and about Kakarot the low-class Saiyan and how an Earthling defeated him, Raditz, and Nappa. Now, this would really intrigue Frieza that humans and another Saiyan, even a hybrid Saiyan, are able to do this. In his curiosity, he tells Vegeta that he will send Kui, Dodoria, and Zarbon as backup and a few extra Frieza soldiers to help him to go to Earth and pretty much kill the Saiyans, because he wants to see if they're worth it. Anyway, they get a little mini ship to take all three of them there, or all four of them there. Now, why would Frieza want to, like, send Vegeta back there with backup and everything and just kill them? Well, I think that his view of the Super Saiyan would still be immense, and if he knew someone was stronger than Vegeta, this would definitely catch his attention. So, now all four of them are heading to Earth, which will take about a year, if not about 2 years, considering that they're way farther away than Vegeta and Nappa were. Anyway, the warriors on Earth have just recovered from their fight with the Saiyans. They all got senzu beans and whatnot. And Goku and Hercule actually go to Capsule Corps and talked to Bulma and Dr. Briefs about making a gravity chamber because of their training on King Kai's world, and they would know about gravity training. So I definitely think that they would want a gravity training to like further train, because Hercule's still wanting to be the strongest. That view of him hasn't changed. It's just not, he doesn't have an overinflated ego like the original. Anyway, Goku and Hercule, the two strongest on Earth at this point in the story, and besides Frieza mainly, are the strongest. So they are seeing immense gains, with Hercule upping his Kaioken to level 20, and Goku also doing this, but since there's two of them training together, they would actually manage to, like, perfect Kaioken times 20 without it being any strain on the body. Even getting, like, maybe a level or two above. So maybe, like, Kaioken times 22 or something like that. Also something important to point out, Kid Gohan and Videl are actually getting to talking and knowing each other a little bit more rather than just teaming up for fights. And this sparks a relationship a lot sooner. They're not, like, in love or anything, but they do have a connection. It's just not that strong. Yet. Anyway, while they're training together also, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien, all knowing the Kaioken, decide they all want to train together and perfect their Kaiokens, getting their levels up to near 20, if not at 20 themselves. So everyone is seeing immense gains from this. But about 2-ish years or so later, I would have to say, maybe a little less depending on the speed of the ship, Frieza's men, Qui, Zarbon, Dodoria, and Vegeta all arrive on the planet. Everyone's surprised to see Vegeta with backup. Frieza's soldiers, or however many soldiers would be on the ship, descend down and attack the group, all gathered because of all the energies. But these Frieza soldiers, there wouldn't even be that many of them, maybe like 5, 10 maybe, so this would be really, really easy. Then, Dodoria would attack the Earthlings, that of which being Videl, Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Gohan. Now, the reason I left Gohan out of this pick here is because I actually forgot about it last minute, so yeah. Anyway, Goku and Hercule would then be confronted by Zarbon, who transforms into his monster form, seeing the fact that he has to if he knows that these two are stronger than Vegeta, and combined they could be a problem for him. But just when he goes to attack, he is met with a great sucker punch right into his chest. Now, even though this Vegeta is weaker than Monster Zarbon at this point, this is an off-guard attack. Vegeta would then finish the job like he did in the original Namek saga, blasting Zarbon completely through the chest, killing him. Vegeta would then state that he didn't actually want to team up with them. He came here more or less as an alliance to help him beat Frieza. Vegeta would then explain the whole spiel about Frieza and that he basically rolled over the Saiyans and their planet was destroyed by a meteor, and basically the whole spiel about Frieza. And that he wants to team up. He will team up with them to kill Frieza, and he will not do anything bad. Goku, even though it seems a little odd, understands Vegeta and why he did all those bad things, so he agrees to this, with Hercule more or less being skeptical, but Goku agrees to this and knew that after him sparing Vegeta, that if he hadn't, Frieza's presence would be more of a dramatic surprise. And if you're wondering about Qui, Vegeta killed him because Qui was there with him. He wanted him out of the way. Anyway, Vegeta would then state that he thinks he knows of a way to actually kill Frieza, because he knows their power isn't enough. He then goes on to say that the only way that they might be able to win
is to make one of them the legendary Super Saiyan. And that's where we're going to be ending things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today we are getting into part 11 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel, and all that other nonsense I keep saying at the beginning of every one of these videos. What if Hercule, the world martial arts champion in the original Dragon Ball anime, was actually a Z fighter? Or, simply put, better than he was originally, rather than claiming to have killed Cell and then just doing a minor help against Majin Buu. Well, I put him, instead of going to the Satan Dojo, instead, he would go with Goku and Bulma on their adventures to get the Dragon Balls and become lifelong friends with Goku, and both of them being the strongest on Earth, and him mastering his Dynamite Kick, Rolling Hercule Punch, and Ultra Megaton Punch way earlier, even picking up Yamcha's Wolfang Fist and asking Goku to teach him the Kamehameha. Later down the line, by the time Gohan and Videl are actually born, these two are starting to become friends. No real love interest yet, but it's definitely spiking up to that point near this point of the story. But just as something worth pointing out. Also, whenever they went to King Kai's planet, Goku and Hercule together learned the Kaioken. So this means that the both of them would actually get a semblance on even Kaioken times 5 in the Saiyan saga. So this is definitely beneficial. Anyway, to shortly recap the events of the last episode, Vegeta was defeated and headed off to Frieza Planet 79, which I actually looked at and confirmed which planet it actually was, and got himself healed. However, with no knowledge of the Namekians or Dragon Balls, Frieza and all of his forces are on that planet. And after waking up, Frieza interrogates him and wonders what happened with, like, Raditz and Nappa and how come they went to Earth, like, pretty much without permission. Vegeta would then spill off everything that has happened, and Frieza, he still has a fear of the Super Saiyan. So the knowledge that someone's better than Vegeta, he sends Kui, Dodoria, and Zarbon with Vegeta to supervise him, obviously, and to help, in order to make sure that this Saiyan and his hybrid son and the Earthling that Vegeta talked about would not become a problem in his later future. He's gonna regret doing that. Anyway, Frieza's forces, whenever they arrive on the Earth, are instantly dealt with, because it's only a few minor soldiers, and Dodoria is taken out by the Earthlings and Gohan, while Zarbon sets his sights on Hercule and Goku, supposedly what Vegeta said, the two strongest. But just when he transforms into monster form and goes for an attack, everyone hears an explosion and sees that Kui is just been offed. And then, just before Zarbon could process this, Vegeta charges in at full power from his Zenkai. Keep in mind, he is weaker than Monster Zarbon at this point, but with an off-guard attack, Vegeta kills him the same exact way that he did in the original, saying that he never really was teaming up with them, and he wants an alliance to help against Frieza. Now, Goku, I feel like he would agree to this, and know that him sparing Vegeta actually turned out to get positive results. And then Vegeta would say that everyone, he can sense their powers now, and knows that everyone is more than strong enough. Even combined, it could give Frieza trouble. Even with Vegeta's help, it could give Frieza trouble. But he knows about Frieza's transformations, and says that the only definitive way is by getting the power of the legendary Super Saiyan. Now, Vegeta, after explaining what the Super Saiyan is, and everything else, he then once again reiterates that even with all of them combined, his help included, he knows about Frieza's extra forms, and even the Ginyu Force coming is going to be a problem. So it's definitely noteworthy that the Super Saiyan is unlocked. And he tells Kakarot, or Goku rather, that he is going to be the one with the power. Now Goku, he's intrigued by Frieza and everything, and he more or less now understands why Vegeta was a bad guy. But he doesn't want to be left out in the dust, so he's going to try and get the Super Saiyan power in secret without letting Vegeta know, but I'll mention more on that later. Anyway, Vegeta, now being significantly weaker than Goku in the time skip that's happened, with Goku mastering even Kaioken times 20, or at least getting to that point, he's training with Kakarot, and definitely getting close with that rage to becoming a Super Saiyan. Also, during the time skip, I feel like Vegeta and Bulma would still hitch up here, because Bulma would be around, and I feel like these two would still get together. Now, there's an argument that Yamcha and Bulma would still be together, but I feel that their relationship was still strained at that point. So Baby Trunks would actually be born sooner, and this is definitely going to have some noteworthy changes to the story coming into, like, the Android saga and, like, future sagas. But anyway, aside from that, Frieza is furious that Vegeta played him like a fool. And with Dodoria, Zarbon, and, like, the few soldiers that went with them, scouters, some of them still being on, he would have heard all that went on, and he's angry. Vegeta played him. And now he's teaming up with these Saiyans? Now, this is definitely something that catches his attention. He should have just destroyed Vegeta for his insubordination and just been done with it. And then he could have gone to Earth and just killed the Saiyans himself. He summons his elite squadron, the Ginyu Force, who are still on this planet, by the way. They have no reason to leave because no Dragon Balls and no Namek and stuff like that. So, he summons the Ginyu Force and whatever minions are on the planet at the time. Probably not that much, but noteworthy enough to point out. So, Frieza and his forces are going to head straight for Earth. And considering how angry Frieza is, they're going to want to get to Earth fast. So, this is going to be like a 5 to 8 month time skip, I feel. Not a year. I won't want to go that far. But anyways, Vegeta, after all his rage about being surpassed by Kakarot and wanting to kill Frieza, eventually unlocks the Super Saiyan form. Now, by the time Frieza and his forces come to Earth, he's not going to have, like, mastered the form. I'm not going to go that far. But he does have it. It's at least in, like, sort of grade 1. He can't pull it off whenever he wants, like, fully yet. Anyways, Frieza and his forces, including the Ginyu Force, arrive on Earth. And it's noteworthy to point out once again, with even the Earthlings and everyone else's training, the soldiers are taken care of instantaneously. Now, when it comes to the likes of the Ginyu Force, Guldo, Jace, Raccoon, and Birder, they're killed easily too. Only with Guldo being the real problem. But with Vegeta knowing about his time abilities, he would have told the group about this and, like, about the Ginyu Force in general, so Guldo wouldn't even have, like, time to use his time attacks. Pun intended. Anyway, then we get to a particular question. Does Ginyu still body swap with Goku even though the circumstances are different? Well, no. You see, once again, with Vegeta's intel about the Ginyu Force, if Ginyu even did try a body swap, everybody knows about it by this point in time. So Goku, when he sees that Ginyu's getting ready for a similar move akin to his body change, he would go Kaioken times 20 and off the captain right then and there. So Frieza's minions and the Ginyu Force are easily dealt with. Then we get to the the Frieza fight. He lunges straight at Vegeta, very angry at him for killing his forces and betraying him. He should have killed the Saiyan back whenever he was, like, with Raditz and Nappa, when he was, like, just a mere lackey. Or just when he was insubordinate enough to go to Earth. Now, Vegeta, even though he's anxious to see Frieza's forms, he just wants revenge. So, right when Frieza lunges at him, and they have a brief struggle, Vegeta powers instantly up to Super Saiyan, and before Frieza can even register what has happened, Vegeta powers up a full-powered Super Saiyan Gallic gun and offs the Tyrant right then and there. Bit anticlimactic, but Vegeta, he just wanted his revenge. Vegeta then loudly exclaims his victory, saying that he truly is the one and only Super Saiyan. He has waited for this day for a long time, and now everybody is in his debt, because if it weren't for him, Frieza would have killed all of them probably without any sweat at all. Goku isn't at all bothered by this. He is a little, but then he smirks. Vegeta's somewhat surprised. Is he hiding something? As a matter of fact, Goku is. He then pulls out his own Super Saiyan transformation and says that he's about the same level of mastering it as Vegeta, and that he's not fully gotten the grasp on it yet. But he did unlock it before Vegeta in secret, because he is stronger than him, and he was planning on using this if the need were to arise. And he also points out that he's even gotten Gohan to learn, like, some of the basics of it too. Gohan hasn't unlocked it yet, but he's close. Goku can feel it. And Vegeta's just left dumbstruck. But he ignores it because he got his wish by killing Frieza. But he knows it's not over. King Cold would then later find out about Frieza's death, and would go straight to Earth to get his revenge. But with everybody's training, he's just offed right then and there. And it's like not even a contest with two Super Saiyans and Gohan likely having the form at the time too. With everybody else's help, he's just offed right then and there. But this is odd. No future Trunks. And that's where we're going to be ending things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 12 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And that one is, what if Hercule, the world martial arts champion and savior of the world whenever he saved everyone against the threat of Boo and Goku with the Spirit Bomb, what if he was a Z fighter? Now how would this work, you might ask? Well, simple. Minor change, in fact. Instead of going to the Satan Dojo in the early days of Dragon Ball and becoming the world martial arts champion like he did, I instead took the route of making him go with Goku and Bulma on their ways to get the Dragon Balls and become lifelong friends with Goku. Simple minor change, okay? And also mastering all of his trademark moves a lot sooner than the original. Also, learning the Wolfang Fist from Yamcha and the Kamehameha from Goku. Another notable thing here is Kid Gohan and Videl actually meet a lot sooner. Now, they have a friendship as of this point. They're not all kissy, well, they're just kids. But their relationship is going to spark a lot sooner, if you couldn't already tell. And that's going to mean a lot in the upcoming parts. Also, on the journey to King Kai, because it still happens, watch previous parts if you don't understand why, Hercule learns the Kaioken alongside Goku, using it pretty much just as effectively as him, more effectively than the normal humans even, because they still learn the Kaioken, but they're all behind. Hercule and Goku, besides Vegeta, are the strongest by this point. Now, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien all learn the Kaioken, because of course they would. And Goku masters the 20 times Kaioken around the point where Frieza and his minions come to Earth. I think that's where I put that. But anyways, to recap the last part, Vegeta had just teamed up with the Z Fighters after killing Kui and Zarbon and saying that he was never aligned with them and he wanted to just kill Frieza. And he mentions the legendary Super Saiyan and how he's going to become it if they want to defeat Frieza. So the training begins with all that stuff, and Vegeta and Bulma, I feel, with Bulma still being a part of the group and being around and stuff like that, I feel that Vegeta and Bulma would get hitched up around this point in the story, because it's pretty much a bound to happen sort of deal. So that means Kid Trunks is actually born a lot earlier here. And that's also going to mean a lot too. But if you think that that's going to mean stuff in the keens of future Trunks, I'm going to explain more on that here soon. Anyways, Vegeta does get access to the Super Saiyan transformation, but he only basically got into like the beginning stages of it because he was just trying to get it over with and get the transformation, pretty much. Anyways, Frieza's forces, when they get to Earth, Frieza, the Ginyu Force, stuff like that, when they get to Earth, they are instantly decimated by everyone in the team, Vegeta included. And with a single Super Saiyan Gallic gun from the Prince, Frieza's done in his first form. He doesn't even get the chance to transform. Afterwards, Vegeta then loudly proclaims his victory and how he is the number one and that he finally got his best over Frieza and that everyone should be thanking him because if it weren't for him teaming up with them, Frieza might have killed them all. Basically just bragging a lot, you know, typical Vegeta stuff. But afterwards, Goku's just smiling, and Vegeta is puzzled by this. Goku then proudly shows off his own Super Saiyan transformation and reveals to Vegeta that he had unlocked it before him in secret because he didn't want Vegeta stealing the gains just to defeat Frieza. He wanted it for himself to protect everybody on the planet because he didn't want Vegeta stealing all the thunder. He didn't fully trust him yet, but he does now. And then, as an added bonus, he also tells Vegeta that he's gotten Gohan on the beginning stages of unlocking the transformation himself. Because Gohan, of course, would be on those routes. So Gohan doesn't have it yet, but he's very close to getting it. Anyways, some time passes, and I feel King Cold, learning about Frieza's death, would try and go to Earth and get his revenge, but he wouldn't be killed by future Trunks here. He would be killed by the group in this part of the story, and that's for a very particular reason, which might sound confusing to a lot of you. Now, get this. Goku died in the original of the heart virus in the future, right? And future Trunks came back and gave him the medicine in that timeline, right? Well, here's the thing. A lot of evidence shows that Goku got the heart virus from Yardrat. And considering the fact that he never went to Yardrat or anything like that, never went to space, he wouldn't get the heart virus. So the future androids, albeit stronger, they would still be defeated. And they're going to be defeated in a similar way to how I'm going to make this story happen in this timeline. And you'll understand more why I didn't include future people here soon. Yeah. Anyway, Goten is also born in the android time skip, so he's still younger than Trunks, but he's still relevant at this point in the story. Goku would also at least gain access by this point in time to Super Saiyan Grade 3 and possibly getting under the grasps of Grade 4, but not there yet. I'm not going to go that far. Also, Gohan gets past the first stage of the Super Saiyan form and gets under the cusps of Grade 2. So, that's a thing. And the reason for the whole androids thing is because I feel like the Warriors would figure something out with Goku still alive. Just additional input there. Anyway, Vegeta also would be near the same level as Goku, if not a little bit under, because everyone thought that he gained the form first. Then again, that doesn't really matter. But anyways, strength-wise and Super Saiyan grade-wise, him and Goku are pretty much equivalent, with Goku being a little bit higher. And all the Earthlings, they master the Kaioken very efficiently, Hercule included. Anyways, 19 and 20 would then make their attack like they did originally, except there's going to be a difference. Well, a few, actually. For one thing, we get to the scene of Dr. Gero and Yamcha. Now, if you guys remember from the original series, Dr. Gero instantly grabbed Yamcha, stole his energy, impaled him, and almost killed him. But here, even though Dr. Gero in 19 would have data on Kaioken fully, Yamcha could use this to his advantage to outmaneuver Gero to a point. Dr. Gero would still get the jump on him, with 19 possibly backing him up, but it would give him enough time so he wouldn't get impaled or anything, I would have to say. So, the whole encounter and the reveal of 19 and 20 in the Wasteland would still go per normal, except with extra people being there, and the group being stronger than before. Goku would then go on to fight 19, except 19 and Gero know about Super Saiyan now. And while Goku fights 19, with Hercule backing him up, obviously, everyone else fights off Dr. Gero. And the fight seems to be going decently well, but Gero and 19 are holding their own, surprisingly. But they're surprised to see different variations of the Super Saiyan form. What's most surprising to the group, albeit except Yamcha, is the fact that 19 and Gero can absorb energy, seeing it from 19 absorbing Goku's Kamehameha wave. Hercule seeing this, and Yamcha also as a key witness to when he had his energy sucked from Gero, they both immediately yell out to everyone in the group, especially Goku, that they need to aim for the arms of the androids, and that's their primary goal. Gero gets his arm sliced clean off and tossed like a rag doll, while 19 gets both of his arms sliced off, and everyone kills him beforehand. Anyway, after getting his hand sliced off, seeing 19 die and getting tossed around and not winning, Dr. Gero would then state that number 17 and 18 will be able to kill them, and that this is just the beginning. The group should have never chose to fight him. They just picked a losing battle. He then blares the area in a pink energy blast and escapes, with Bulma conveying on the scene and her revealing that that old man is Dr. Gero, and learning the location of Dr. Gero's lab. But unfortunately, by the time they get there, they're too late. The whole opening sequence with the androids, I feel, would still go the same way, and except for the fact that number 18 and number 17 would kill Gero a little bit sooner, before they even blast down the door to the laboratory. The Z-Fighters, I mean. So, 16 would actually be awakened in the lab, instead of before the lab was destroyed. And right after he's awakened, he sees Goku and pushes him out of the lab with an extreme force of ki.
and the two begin a fight, with Hercule trying to back him up, but 16 not really giving a crap. His main target right now is Goku. 17 and 18 fight against Vegeta and all the other Earthlings. Now, even with everyone at their max powers and everybody showing off what they can do, and all these new variations of the Super Saiyan form surprising the androids, it's not enough. Their strengths just don't compare. And the androids are not tiring with their infinite energy stores. So, Tien uses a solar flare, and the group escapes narrowly. Now, 17 and 18, they'll let these guys go. They were fun. Let them see how long they get to get stronger. Albeit 16 being very reluctant at this. He wants to set his eyes on Goku, but he'll comply. Meanwhile, up at Kami's lookout, Kami's been watching everything go on and planned for the androids to come out. And he's been setting together a foolproof plan, at least he thinks so, involving a certain rice cooker with a demon king locked inside.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 13 of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And that is, what if Hercule, the world martial arts champion, savior of the world, and who helped against the fight with Boo, was a Z fighter? Now, how would this impact the story? Short answer, it impacts a lot. Hercule being a character here means a lot in the grand scheme of things. For one thing, instead of taking his journey to the Satan Dojo to become the world martial arts champion, he would instead go on the route with Goku and Bulma on their adventures to get the Dragon Balls back in the early days of Dragon Ball. Him actually becoming lifelong friends with the young Goku. And along the way, all of his trademark moves, he would master a lot sooner, getting a better grasp on them. He would also get the Wolf Fang Fist attack from Yamcha, and ask young Goku to teach him the Kamehameha Wave, his first energy attack. He would then go on to learn the Kaioken alongside Goku, and all the other Earthlings, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien, they would learn the Kaioken as well, because of course they would. Also, another notable thing is that Gohan and Videl meet a lot sooner. And right now it's a friendship, but it's definitely going to end up, their relationship is going to happen a lot sooner than it did in the original. Now, to recap in order of importance, like a very important detail that I know a lot of you might be wondering, I chose to keep the future timeline out of this because, as you'll see in this coming episode, future Trunks or whoever's interference would be utterly pointless, and you'll see why. I'll clarify more on this episode in case you guys were confused as to why I kept him out of this. Anyways, another notable thing is Goten is born a lot earlier because Goku's around a lot more, and Trunks was born back in pretty much the Frieza saga, so he's almost a teen at this point. Now, to recap the storyline from the last episode, 19 and 20 made their fated attack on the island 9 miles off of South City, and pretty much goes per normal until we get to the scene of Dr. Gero about to drain Yamcha's energy. But with the access of Kaioken and high levels of it, this keeps the Doctor at bay. He knows about it, but it's enough for Yamcha to at least get himself not, absorbed at the moment. Enough for the group to arrive, and the meeting and Dr. Gero telling everything pretty much goes per normal. But with Yamcha being there now, the energy absorption is known, so Super Saiyan Goku defeats 19 rather handily with Hercule's help, Dr. Gero gets his hand sliced clean off, like he does per normal against Piccolo, and escapes to the lab to awaken 17 and 18. And, like I said, a lot of this would go per normal, except with a few characters being there. Anyways, Bulma would then convey the location of Dr. Gero's lab, but by the time that they get there, 16 has already been awakened along with 17 and 18, and Dr. Gero has been killed. And it's not like too... Basically, whenever the door is blasted down, the androids are already awoken, so not too much a time difference. Anyways, 16 then lunges at Goku in the lab and pushes him out of it with a force of ki. The two begin their fight, with Hercule backing him up, 16 not really giving much interest. And that fight goes on. Meanwhile, Vegeta, Gohan, and the others are fighting the likes of 17 and 18. And the energy and stamina difference is a lot more noticeable than it was originally. With the androids having data on a little bit of Super Saiyan, not too much, but enough, and Kaioken, it's just too much a difference, and unfortunately, Tien has to pull off a solar flare for the group to escape. Now, you might think that 16 would just go after Goku regardless, if he could calculate where he was. That's true, but I believe that 17 and 18 would coax him into waiting, see if these guys can get their powers up a little. Meanwhile, I'm going to give you guys the conclusion of the revelation I left off with at the last episode. Meanwhile, at Kami's lookout, a day before the events of 19 and 20 even showing up, Kami's been busy with a plan. A very convoluted and possibly foolish plan. He's been thinking, he needs to be a better guardian. He's been sitting on the sidelines all these years, everyone's been getting so much stronger, Goku and all of them, and he hasn't done anything in return rather than just sit up on his lookout. So he finally decides it's time to get some action. He then tells his subordinate Mr. Popo to gather the Dragon Balls, and this is all done at night so that no one suspects anything. Shenron is then summoned, and this would be the first time besides Dragon Ball GT and Ultimate Tenkaichi that we actually see Shenron appear on the lookout. Well, I'm sorry, Cell Saga at the end of it, he was brought up, but that's not really important. Anyway, he wishes to restore his youth. And this would grant him a lot more power, and it would upgrade Shenron and the hyperbolic time chamber, which I'll get to in a minute. And it also affects King Piccolo, rather. And I'm going to leave you guys with some facts here this time instead of leaving off the revelation of him last time. He is coming back. So, King Piccolo, after doing all that, or Kami after doing all that, would then get the rice cooker and free King Piccolo. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Why? Why is the point of bringing King Piccolo back? What good is he gonna do, even if Kami has restored his youth? He's bad! Well, that's true. But Kami wants to see if he can actually redeem King Piccolo and make him a valuable asset. They need every freaking strong person that they can get. So, he would then go to the hyperbolic time chamber with King Piccolo, bribing him on all the information that's happened on their way inside. Now, like I said, the room has been updated, so that means Kami and King Piccolo, fighting to actually resolve their differences, could stay in the room a little bit longer than you would originally, before, like, the room was just, like, you had to only be in there a day or you'd go mad. Now, conveniently enough, whenever the Z-Fighters go up to Kami's lookout to try and formulate a plan, that is when Kami and King Piccolo have actually resolved their differences and are walking out of the room. Now, at first, the Z-Fighters don't know what to think. They don't know where Kami is. Then Mr. Popo points to the hyperbolic time chamber door, where two figures emerge. One is Kami, looking similar to King Piccolo in appearance, even though they never saw King Piccolo in young form, but he's definitely looking younger, so they're confused. But then they see a familiar face. King Piccolo then steps from behind Kami. Now, this surprises Krillin, Yamcha, Hercule, Goku, and Tien, who have all seen and fought King Piccolo. Now, there's another person who's surprised, Vegeta. Now, the only reason that he's surprised is that he did not know that the Guardian of Earth was a Namekian. And this would be where the revelation of the Namekians is first introduced into the story, a lot later than it was originally. King Piccolo, seeing all these familiar faces, just smirks and says, "Well, well, well. I thought that Kami was the only familiar face I'd see after getting out of that rice cooker. So tell me, you guys get any stronger? Because I have, and I'm itching for another round, if you know what I mean." Now, right whenever he says this, Krillin is furious because he almost died to this guy's goon, Tambourine. Goku is the next one to get angry, and everyone prepares to power up and destroy King Piccolo right then and there. But Kami stops them. Everyone's surprised at this and is like, "Why would you save him? Do you not know the trouble he caused?" Kami explains that they need every single frickin' fighter that they can get, and he believes that King Piccolo can be redeemed. Because Vegeta and everybody else was redeemed, so why can't he? So, without further fanfare, he explains about the hyperbolic time chamber, and that with his youth restored, Shenron and the chamber have been upped. Like, they've been, like, rejuvenated, basically, with more stuff than they were originally. So they can use the Dragon Balls and the hyperbolic time chamber more effectively. So they go in, and more people can go in now. So Goku masters the Super Saiyan form effectively, and getting a tiny grasp on Super Saiyan 2. He can't use it fully, he hasn't mastered it, but he can use it to a certain degree. And as for Gohan, he masters the Super Saiyan form as well. And for those of you thinking, oh, it's just going to be the same thing with Super Saiyan 2, he's going to hide it or something to try and, like, make that a secret again. But no, Gohan would get Super Saiyan 2, and actually, it wouldn't be a surprise here. Because, for one thing, Goku already has it, so it wouldn't be much of a big revelation. And two, there wouldn't be any need for the whole Cell Saga blow-up thing, because there's no real imminent sense of danger. And as for Vegeta, he would master the Super Saiyan form as well. He wouldn't get Super Saiyan 2 here, but he would be close. He's as close to Goku and Gohan. He's almost there. And as for the Earthlings, don't think I'm going to leave them out in the dust. Like I said, the chamber has been fixed and definitely upgraded. So the Earthlings are going to up their Kaioken level a lot. And as for Hercule, I'm going to give him a bit more credit in this episode. So, with all the moves that he's gotten up till this point, he picks up another one of Yamcha's trademark moves, besides the Wolfang Fist. He decides to pick up his Spirit Ball attack. Also, going after some of Tien's moves, one of which being the Multiform. And after that, going on to learn a little bit about Tien's Tri-Beam. Now, Tien and Yamcha, they would be very impressed that Hercule can use these moves so effectively, because it took them quite a bit of effort, but Hercule is the strongest Earthling right now, keep that in mind.
Now, after everybody's training and everyone unfortunately having to work with King Piccolo, they then convey where they think that they might have seen the androids last. And thankfully, they haven't gone too far, so they're able to locate him, also thanks to Kami. 16 then goes for Goku again, powering up, with Goku showing off his Super Saiyan. Now, the androids think there's something a little bit different. They do see King Piccolo, but they just think that one more ally is not going to change much. But if they want to go ahead and risk their lives again, go ahead. But then, right at that moment, Super Saiyan Goku teleports so fast that 16 can't even calculate it. And he teleports right in front of him and delivers a super uppercut, which decapitates 16's head right off. 17 and 18 are surprised at this, but then they lunge for Goku in the group, but are tossed around like ragdolls. They can't do anything, even with their infinite energy. 17 is angered at this, and surprised. Goku defeated 16 in one blow, and now him and 18 are being tossed around like they're nothing. How did these guys get so strong in a day or two? This is impossible. 18, on the other hand, she is angry, but she's more scared. And she begs the group to let her and 17 go at least. She knows 16's a goner because he's freaking decapitated. But just as it seems the group might relent, King Piccolo charges up a hyper-explosive demon wave and wipes the two out because they're too injured from being tossed around. So they don't survive this. Even if King Piccolo is way weaker than everybody else, it's noticeable enough that they were injured to the point where they couldn't really defend against the blast. Vegeta smirks at this, knowing that he might have done the exact same thing to the androids. And with that, the android saga just wrapped up right then and there. But not so. Even though it's not noticeable at the moment, a certain bug creature is still relevant to the story, trapped in the remains of Dr. Gero's bunker in his lab, which wasn't destroyed, and might cause problems for our group in the future. And I think that's a perfect place to leave off for this episode.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today we are going in to part 14. I can't believe it's already that many parts in of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And by the way, if you guys hear my voice kind of a little weak, it's because I got a sore throat, because I got the flu from seasons changing, so little heads up there, just in case anybody was wondering. Anyways, we are getting into part 14 of What If Hercule was a Z-Fighter. Now, how would this impact the story, you might ask? Well, short answer, definitely a lot changes. A lot of events don't occur, and a lot of events are changed. Anyways, I have Hercule, instead of going to the Satan Dojo, pursuing his dream of becoming the world martial arts champion, instead going with Goku and Bulma on their trip to get the Dragon Balls, more or less, for Bulma, and him actually becoming lifelong friends with Goku, and basically becoming the next strongest, and, besides him. Anyways, he would also, besides all of his moves, learn the Wolfang Fist from Yamcha and the Kamehameha from Goku, mastering all of his original moves way earlier on. He would also go on to learn Kaioken with Goku at King Kai's, and the Earthlings, of course, would learn it too, because they would all be training together, basically, now that Hercule was there. Anyways, we also get an interesting development between Kid Gohan and Videl meeting a lot sooner, which means that in this episode, which I'm going to talk about more, we're actually going to see them finally getting into a relationship. Anyways, to recap the last episode, for those of you who were confused as to the whole premise of the last episode and how that even occurred, I'm just going to recap it for those of you. Anyway, at Kami's lookout, a day or two before Dr. Gero and 19 attack the island, Kami has been making a plan because he feels like he's not being a good enough guardian and wants to do more for the group because they're all getting stronger. And he feels like they all could use another valuable ally. So, part of his plan, he tells Mr. Popo to get the Dragon Balls on, basically, it's night on Earth, so nobody suspects anything. Anyways, Shenron's summoned at the lookout, and he asks Kami for his youth to be restored. Thereby, in summation, King Piccolo also gets his youth back, but he's trapped in the evil containment wave rice cooker because Goku gave it to him after he sealed him away, after Roshi sealed him away. Anyways, Kami then goes to free King Piccolo. Why did he do this, you might ask, for those of you angry or confused at this little twist? Well, as I said, Kami wants another strong warrior to protect Earth, because everyone down on Earth might be strong, but they're going to need another ally eventually. And he also wants to see if Piccolo can be redeemed in some way, because I feel like this would happen along the lines if King Piccolo was not killed, or something along those lines. So he trains with King Piccolo in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber for a day, and they come out right whenever the Z Fighters enter the lookout after getting whomped by 16, 17, and 18. And when they see Kami, they're surprised. But even more surprised, Goku, Hercule, Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien mainly, that King Piccolo is there and young. But Kami would explain everything and that they need another ally. And everyone would go in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber to win against the androids. Goku and Gohan would get the grasps on Super Saiyan 2 quite effectively, a lot earlier on. And Vegeta would be close to Super Saiyan 2, but at this point he's just mastered Super Saiyan. He's almost a 2, but not quite. Anyways, all the Earthlings master their techniques, and Kaioken, with Hercule, not leaving him out in the dust any longer, because in case any of you wanted more relevance on him, since he's the main, point of the story, he decides it's time, besides all the moves he has, to pick up on some new ones. So, he asks Yamcha to teach him the Spirit Ball technique, him having learned 2 of Yamcha's moves by this point, and learns the multi-form from Tien, and also the Tri-Beam from Tien as well. So this would make 3 energy-based attacks, the Kamehameha, Tri-Beam, and Spirit Ball, all within Hercule. After their training is complete, with the Hyperbolic Time Trooper being upgraded, so everyone can go in at once, with their training being complete, they then convey on the scene and fight 17, 16, and 18. I say fight, but it's more like a massacre because the androids are completely overpowered. And right whenever they're about to, possibly be spared after begging for mercy, 18 mainly, King Piccolo doesn't care about this. And while he might be weaker than everybody else, his training with Kami and the Z Fighters, reluctantly, off guard and injured, the androids stand no chance against King Piccolo's hyper-explosive wave. Now, Vegeta smirks at this because he feels like he would have done the same exact thing for them humiliating him before. I left off with the revelation that Present Cell lives because 16 only pushed Goku out of the lab. The lab didn't really get destroyed, and there's no future timeline, so the Present Cell is still going to matter here. There's no imperfect Cell from Trunks' time because there's no future, but he's going to be relevant later on in the story. But it's going to be way later on, so push him to the side for now. Just know that he's alive. Anyways, we then get the time skip with the Android Saga being over and the Cell Saga never even happening. And this point, like I said before, Teen Gohan and Videl are finally going to get into a relationship bond together a lot earlier on, because I feel like this is the point where it would happen if they did meet, this early on.
And Videl does learn Kaioken here, so don't think I'm pushing her to the side. She's a relevant fighter. It's just, I wanted to find a point to, like, mention her relevance more better. And also, notable thing, the Trunks from this timeline, it would be a teen by this point, because he was born pretty much back, like, in the Frieza saga, or what would have been the Namek saga. So, that means around this point in the story, Trunks here would be a teen. And by this point, I most definitely think that if this were the case, he would have mastered Super Saiyan 2 by this point in time, with his father maybe teaching him and everything else. And speaking of children, Goten, he's still relevant here as well, except he was born more or less, like, within the time skip of the androids. So by the time we get into the Buu arc, he's a little older than he was before. A little bit. And he would have possibly gotten Super Saiyan 2 by this point too. If not, mastered Super Saiyan. Because, he was born a little bit earlier than he was originally. So I feel like he would have at least gotten Super Saiyan 2 by this point in time. Now, speaking of other fighters, King Piccolo here, he's not going to enter the tournament, because he's not really a good guy yet. He's gotten better, and the Z Fighters are sorta kinda trusting him, but he's not going to enter the tournament for obvious reasons. But he thinks to himself, even though he's not a bad guy, it'd still be nice to have his old minions back. So, since he's training off on his own and not being really part of the team at this point for the tournament and everything, he decides to spawn all of his old children. Piano, Tambourine, and Cymbal, even getting a new one, Drum, because remember, Drum was never spawned in this timeline until this point in the story. So, he gets all of his minions back and just trains with them and is on his own, basically. Gets them stronger as well. Vegeta, having almost Super Saiyan 2 at the Cell Saga, or Android Saga, would have mastered the form by this point. Now, with all those facts out of the way, we get into one very noticeable change here. Since Hercule was never the World Martial Arts Champion and went with the Z Fighters, that means the Hercule vs. Spopovich fight never happened, which in turn means that Spopovich is the World Martial Arts Champion. Because I feel like this would be the most logical assumption had Hercule not pursued his dream. So, the World Martial Arts Champion is Spopovich. So, we are not going to get Majin Spopovich here, I would feel. If Spopovich got the World Martial Arts Champion title, I don't think that, even with his arrogance and cockiness, I don't think that he would be turned into a Majin here. Because he has what he wants. Why would he even need to become a Majin, even if he is arrogant? Which also means that Yamu is going to be the only one who's the Majin at the tournament. But don't think that the Majin Saga is going to end just like that. We're still going to get to some key points. Even with just Yamu. Anyways, Goten would then... the tournament would begin, and Goten would win the junior division, because he's the only strong one there. Trunks is too old by this point to enter the junior division. We then get to the scene where we meet Supreme Kai and Kibito, not knowing fully who they are at the time, with the difference being that Goku isn't dead here, so events would almost play out the same way, except not, like, a few minor changes. Anyways, since there's a lot more fighters entering, Yamcha would take the place of Pintar and fight Krillin in the first match, and Krillin would win here, because he's the stronger of the two, but it would still be a good fight. And then, we get to another noticeable change. Since there is no Piccolo at the tournament, the one who would be fighting the Supreme Kai is Videl. And she wouldn't know who the Supreme Kai is at this point in time, because Piccolo is the only one who had a grasp on it until Supreme Kai revealed himself. And Videl has been training a lot, and she's going to fight in the tournament a match sooner than before.
Now, Supreme Kai, he can tell that Vidal's strong, but warns her that looks can be deceiving and that she should definitely concede. But Vidal just thinks this to be like a cocky person thinking that he's all talk and no show, so she powers up into Kaioken, going into times 10, because I feel like she would have that at this point, and charges at Shin. But with his superior magical abilities, even with Vidal's training and everything, Supreme Kai is definitely the better of the two. He's not trying to hurt her, but he just uses one of his special Kai techniques and just pushes her out of the ring, effectively. Then we get to a very serious change. Hercule and Spopovich are going to fight here, a tournament later than what happened originally. And this is, like I said, not Majin Spopovich. Now, if you think that Spopovich is, just because he's stronger, he's going to magically win here, no. Hercule wins this by default. He doesn't even have to try against Spopovich. Think of it as the flashback of the match we saw in the original, except even more pathetic, because Hercule is just that much stronger. And Spopovich isn't going to become a Majin here, but he is still angry that he lost. Anyways, we then get to the match between Gohan and Kibito, and that would go per normal, except the fact that Yamu is the only one to take Gohan's energy. But Supreme Kai still seals him, so that's pretty much the only difference. Now, King Piccolo has sensed all this going on and sees Yamu in a distant part flying towards the ship of Babidi. And I think that even though King Piccolo and his minions weren't relevant in the tournament, that something between Babidi and his men might come towards King Piccolo and his men. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 15, oh my god, of my first Dragon Ball What If topic on this channel. And that one is, what if Hercule was a Z-Fighter? Now, I'm going to shorten the recap. I've said that before, but for those of you who don't know about the whole Hercule having a million moves thing, mastering all of his moves, go to my past parts if you haven't seen them already, because I really want to shorten the recap so I can get to the main points of the story. For those of you who just want me to skip all the monologue and get to the point, that's what I'm going to do. So, we left off with Gohan get his energy stolen by Yamu alone, and going off to Babidi to give him the energy. Now, I left off with the cliffhanger that King Piccolo was going to matter more in the upcoming parts of the Majin arc. Well, this is the episode where he is. So, him and his men, because he respawned his men after the whole incident with the androids, basically, they were excluded from the tournament because, obviously, and, if they were to go into the tournament, it would ruin, basically, the possible redemption for them. Because Kami saw redemption in King Piccolo, and that's why he took him out of the jar, or the rice cooker. So, to ruin that, it would kind of be pointless. So, him and his men have basically been on solace, so that way King Piccolo can basically get his mind straight and try to, like, cope with being good and everything. I mean, it did work out great whenever he trained with Kami, but he just needs more time. But anyways, he sees Yamu flying to Babidi's ship. Now, he doesn't know who this is or what's happening, but then he sees Goku and company fly by and knows something's up. So, he tells all of his men to mask their ki and follow behind Goku and the others to see what's going on. They arrive to a different rock formation other than Goku and the group, and arrive to see, just in time, Yamu give the energy to Babidi and get killed, and then
Shortly after, King Piccolo and his men still watching, mind you, waiting for the good moment to strike, Kibito getting killed by this guy who claims to be the Demon King, and Krillin getting turned to stone by spit? Really? This guy calls himself a demon, and what? I mean, King Piccolo has weird moves, so some part of him can't really judge. And now he sees a little bit of trouble here. So, just as Deborah is about to turn someone else to stone, he feels a sharp pain in his chest. Now, everybody else, they don't know what to think. A million things just happened at once. Krillin got turned to stone, Kibito got killed, and now, is Deborah joking or something with the spit nonsense? But then they see the figure who actually impaled Deborah. It's Tambourine with his signature impaling move that he used against the martial artist in the original Dragon Ball continuity. And this is where King Piccolo and his men make their entrance
and basically come to help the group. They basically said that they, even though they weren't allowed in the tournament, they saw Yamu and everybody else fly by and knew something was up. And they hid their keys so that way they could find a moment to strike. And this was a pretty good moment. And the group commends them for coming to help out. Goku and, Hercule and everyone especially. Well, reluctantly, because they still don't really trust him. But sort of. Anyways, Deborah is still floating in the air, mind you, because he was flying whenever he killed Kibito and turned Krillin and Piccolo into stone in the original. So he's still floating, mind you, with a gaping hole in his stomach, and is slowly losing consciousness and falling little by little. But he's still keeping his composure, kind of. But the Supreme Kai? Oh no. If you think that he's just gonna let this guy die with a wound in his stomach, nah. Supreme Kai's not gonna let that happen. This guy killed Kibito. He needs to die. And even more so because he's the Demon King. So he pushes him away with a force of ki from his eyes, and Deborah gets sent into a rock formation 3 mountains away from where they are, a good distance away. Anyways, after this, Bobbity doesn't know what to think. This backup just came, killed his best man, and now he only has Pui Pui Yakon and a bunch of mooks. So he doesn't know what to do at the moment. On the outside, Hercule, especially with the rest of the group, commends King Piccolo for defeating supposedly the Demon King and telling King Piccolo and his men that he's glad that they're on his side, the Z-Fighter's side. With the other warriors reluctantly agreeing. It's kind of weird to hear that, after all what him and his men did. Anyway, Supreme Kai and everybody then, with Supreme Kai especially commending King Piccolo and everyone, suggest the plan to go down and stop Bobbity from resurrecting Majin Buu, because that's still a problem. But just as they're about to go down to the ship, everybody, they see a sword, or what looks like a sword, or some kind of spear, fly through the air. And before anybody has time to register what this is, or where it's going, it goes straight through Videl, killing her right on the spot, right through her heart. And the only person that saw this was Hercule. And the reasoning for that is one, his super training, and two, seeing his daughter fall to the ground with a frickin' spear in her heart. Obviously, this is going to catch his attention the most. And who did the spear belong to? Deborah. He might have a gaping wound in his chest. He might be dying. He might have got forced into a few mountains after. But he's still hanging on to life. You can't keep the Demon King down that easily. These demons showed up out of nowhere.
He's gonna give his spotlight back. And Hercule, oh boy, Deborah just did the wrong thing. And he powers up with an anger so fierce that even Goku, even King Piccolo, is caught off guard. He powers up and he begins growing muscular, with his muscles expanding and his whole top of his outfit rips off and his hair even extends. This is Hercule's super earthling form. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. This is basically a power-up that Hercule was training with to make himself, feel more like Goku, like a Saiyan transformation. I wanted to make it, more realistic, like Hercule was getting power-ups, too. And anyways, Deborah, who's still slowly dying, mind you, the last thing that he sees before he sees Hercule rushing at him is just... the last thing he feels, rather, is just complete and total terror. Hercule, in this new buffed up power of his super earthling form, which I'm going to call Super Hercule, he's just mercilessly punching Deborah into the ground. And yeah, Deborah was already dead. After that, that was all the strength he had, so Deborah's toast. Bobbity, he doesn't know what to think. A million things are happening at once. Supposedly, Deborah was alive. He got extra energy from killing the girl, but now he's just dead. And now this guy just got all angry and got a new form. And he is filled with terror, shock. It's a bunch of things at once to take in. Now Hercule, after mercilessly killing Deborah, mind you, he's just ready to go in there and give Bobbity a piece of his mind. He's not going to let him get away with sending that guy to kill his daughter. And he demands that they go into Bobbity's ship and kill Bobbity personally. Now, everybody else, especially Gohan, who's had a relationship with Videl, they all agree and go straight into Bobbity's ship. Now, aside from Pui Pui and Yakan, the rest of Bobbity's minions left are just simple mooks. They're nothing. So they're easily dealt with. But Bobbity's not through just yet. Keep in mind of a few things. One, Gohan had much more energy at the tournament. Not by a lot, but enough. So the gauge was already more than halfway full with that. Just a little bit more than halfway full. 2, Videl was killed, so that gave a little bit more extra energy. And 3, he's been keeping tabs on these newcomers, King Piccolo and his men. I think you know where I'm getting with this. And he sees dark history with them. Like I said, they're not completely reformed. And this is where they come into play with this saga. Yep. Bobbity sees this as the perfect opportunity. The gauge is a little bit more than halfway full. If he can take control of these guys, Majin Buu is sure to come back. So, Bobbity begins to work his magic. And before anybody can figure out where Bobbity is, King Piccolo, drum, cymbal, and tambourine all recoil on the ground, their heads in agony. And before anybody has time to notice what the heck is going on, all 4 of them have an M on their foreheads. And Supreme Kai knows what this means. He tells the group that these 4 are under the influence of Bobbity, and that they are now his puppets, just like Deborah and just like everyone that they've seen before. Now, everyone is surprised at this, but Goku, he just gets a sheepish grin on his face, and he's like, yeah, I kind of figured that this would happen, with a few of the members agreeing, but they would have thought King Piccolo was completely reformed. Anyways, before Bobbity can teleport them all away, he hears a voice in his head. It's Kami. he basically, whenever Piccolo was controlled, Kami felt this sensation, because remember, Kami and Piccolo, when they're not united, are still one and the same. So, Kami would have felt this sensation, and he talks telepathically to Babidi and tells him that it was a bad idea to control Piccolo, because now he's got to deal with him. And he knows all about Babidi, his plans to revive Boo, and he knows that he plans to use King Piccolo and his men as his final ace in the hole. Babidi, he's surprised at all this, and the last thing he sees before hearing that this guy is the guardian of Earth is Kami teleporting right in front of him and slicing his head clean off. And after hearing this and seeing King Piccolo and his men turn back to normal, Supreme Kai, seeing Kami, they have a nice interaction, with Supreme Kai being very much so impressed with Kami's prowess and how he was able to detect this. Without him, Majin Buu would have probably came back. Anyways, the threat is over. Another easy saga. And the Majin Buu ball is taken to Supreme Kai. He's going to have Beerus ice it, of course, because there's not really much else he can do with it. So when Beerus wakes up, Majin Buu's ball goes bye-bye. Supreme Kai thanks everybody. But story's not done just yet. Shenron is summoned, and everyone who is killed by the Majins, especially Videl and Kibito, are brought back. And just before Supreme Kai and Kibito go, Supreme Kai tells Goku, Gohan, Hercule, and Videl that he thinks they have great untapped potential, and that he has the perfect tool to help them with that. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 16 of What If Hercule Was a Z-Fighter. Now, before we begin, I want to give some closure on the form that I gave Hercule last time whenever Videl was killed by Deborah. I know, it was kind of a rushed decision in the grand scheme of things, more or less a Goku sees Krillin die situation with Hercule. But I wanted to throw Hercule a bone in this story because I feel like Hercule, if he really wanted to, with his knowledge of martial arts and everything, even though he didn't know what ki was, he didn't know the true definitive meaning of martial arts, I just feel like in some way, shape, or form that Hercule could get a new form. And I wanted to put sort of like a Broly / Hulk in Dragon Ball sort of situation into Hercule. So that way, I just wanted to give closure on that for this episode, so it didn't seem like I was just rushing to give him a new form for no reason. So, there you guys go for some closure. Anyways, to recap the last episode shortly, King Piccolo and his minions were turned into Majins after Deborah was impaled by Tambourine and through a few mountains and then pummeled to death by Hercule, literally pummeled to death after he killed Videl. And King Piccolo and his men more or less returned into Majins as a last-ditch effort, but still didn't get Majin Buu revived. So the Majin saga ended before it even happened, so it was pretty much the Babidi saga. Anyways, afterwards, Shenron would be summoned to revive all the people that were killed by Babidi and his men, including Kibito and Videl. Afterwards, as a thank you from the Supreme Kai, Goku, Videl, Gohan, and Hercule would all be gifted the chance to train with the Z-Sword and unlock their hidden potential. Now, why these four, you may ask? Because Supreme Kai saw a lot of potential in Gohan, and at the time, these four right here are like the only ones he really saw like
true potential in. So they would get the Z-Sword training, Goku would stupidly suggest throwing stuff to test it, and the Z-Sword would break, allowing the Elder Kai to be free. And in this case, not just Gohan is going to get the ultimate form here, because these four, they're a team. They've been around since the beginning of the Dragon Ball days, especially Goku and Hercule. So, we are going to get a quadruple Mystic team involving Ultimate Goku, Ultimate Hercule, Ultimate Gohan, and Ultimate Videl. So, they're gonna regularly train on the Kai planet to master their Mystic forms before the Beerus saga. Now, by this point, since Goten was born quite earlier than he was in the original story, around the time like before they Dr. Gero in 19, he would be a teen around this time, I would have to say, considering Dragon Ball Superheroes logic. So, with that, he'd have much more grasp over the Super Saiyan 2 transformation in his teen body. So, that's a thing. Also, the Trunks of this timeline would be an adult, because, if you guys didn't know, he was born before Frieza attacked the Earth. So, pretty much like what would have been the Namek Saga. So, yeah. He would also have completely mastered over his Super Saiyan 2 by this point in the story. So, I figured I'd give you some closure on the two of them, at least. Anyways, as I've said, like, before in some of my past What If Hercule Was a Z-Fighter videos, Goku and Hercule, besides maybe Gohan, are the strongest people in the universe. Like I said, this tag team is very beneficial. Goku and Hercule being around definitely helps a lot more than you might think. Anyways, Hercule also, even though he mainly uses the ultimate power, wants to still get a grasp on his new power that he got whenever he saw Videl die and pummeled Deborah to death. But he wants to try and master it so he doesn't have to, like, get all angry, like, super angry and, like, out of control, like, when he first used the form. He wants to use it beneficially if he's going to use it at all. And he calls it Super Hercule, as I've said before. Anyways, we get the time skip between the end, what it would have been the Majin Saga. It's even longer this time because there's no Boo. So we get Lord Beerus and Whis, and Lord Beerus having his dream about the Super Saiyan God. And then going on to the Kai planet instead of King Kai's planet, because in this story, they're all on the Kai planet and not King Kai's planet. So, yeah. There, Beerus meets Goku, Gohan, Videl, and Hercule, along with the Kais, and wants to know about the Super Saiyan God. But, of course, nobody frickin' knows what the crap Beerus is talking about. So, instead, Beerus decides to test everybody's power. Not out of anger, but just as a test, before he really finds out the answer to his, like, what he wants to know about the Super Saiyan God. He would first fight Videl, and he is genuinely surprised that a human is this powerful. Now, Videl would be able to at least hold her own for a bit, but against even, like, 2%, she'd be done for. Hercule would then step up to the plate next. And this time, with him being as strong as Goku, well, kind of as strong as Goku, near as strong, this would make Beerus have to get a lot more serious, possibly even putting up 5 to 7% of his power, I'm going to have to say, if Hercule got Mystic. Even including his Super Hercule form. Almost 10%, I would have to say, maybe. But it would still not be enough. Gohan would then try his luck next, and even though he puts up somewhat of a decent fight for the time, he is still no match for Beerus, and it is made quite clear. But Beerus is quite impressed.
from 2 humans and a half Saiyan? This is incredible. He wasn't expecting this at all. Then, Goku steps up to the plate. The actual Saiyan. And Beerus expects a lot more from him than everybody else. They gave him a good show. Especially the humans, who he was expecting nothing of at all. Goku and Beerus begin their fight. And this Ultimate Goku is a lot stronger than the Super Saiyan 3 Goku we were introduced with in Battle of Gods, like before he got God Ki. So, this fight goes a lot differently, with Beerus having to put in a little extra power. And after the fight, which Beerus obviously wins, he still wants to find out about the Super Saiyan God. So, with Goku, Gohan, Hercule, and Videl coming alongside, because they don't want him to do anything bad in case he gets, like, super angry, they all go down to Earth and meet everybody. Beerus wants to test out the other Saiyans' powers. Trunks would be the first one to step up, much to Vegeta's chagrin, and of course Trunks would lose, but Beerus would be impressed with this guy too. He's a hybrid Saiyan, but he's pretty good. And then Goten, another hybrid Saiyan, would fight, and Beerus, even though he sees a lot of Saiyans, he's impressed with their power. But then, Vegeta. Vegeta does go Super Saiyan 2 here. He's mastered Super Saiyan 2. And they do fight, but it's a lot, like, calmer this time because there's no Boo to start up a riot, and Bulma doesn't slap Beerus, so he doesn't slap her, so the fight goes a lot more better. Let's just leave it at that. But Beerus still isn't satisfied, truly, so he still wants to know about the Super Saiyan God. So, because it's Bulma's birthday, they have the Dragon Balls, and they summon Shenron and ask about the Super Saiyan God ritual, where you need 5 Saiyans to put their energies into another. And they have all the correct Saiyans as of to what the original Battle of Gods was, except for a major change. Pan is actually a young kid, because she would probably be born a lot earlier, with Gohan and Videl having a much earlier relationship. I feel that Goku would still get the Super Saiyan God power all in all, but big difference. This is a mystic Super Saiyan God Goku, which is much stronger than the original Super Saiyan God. So this means that Beerus has to put in, originally he put 70% of his power into what he did in the original Battle of Gods and the Dragon Ball Super anime. But here, he would probably almost have to go to 100%, because this is Mystic Super Saiyan God Goku, a much stronger variation of the Super Saiyan God form. This is Goku Super Saiyan God Potential Unleashed. So Beerus is a lot more content and sees Goku for a rival now, instead of, like, not really seeing him as a rival, more or less like saying he need more training. So the Battle of Gods end. Sorbet and Tagoma entering the Resurrection F arc, they would try to go to get the Dragon Balls for Frieza. Major change, Kami is around, and he would see that Sorbet and Tagoma are trying to use the Dragon Balls, then teleport down to Earth, see what they're up to, figure out they're trying to resurrect Frieza, kill them both right on the spot. Another saga easily ended. And I know there's a lot of those. Forgive me for that. Anyways, Vegeta, of course, would get into the training with everybody else with Beerus and get Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. Because I feel like Beerus would accept him either way, because he was still pretty strong as a Super Saiyan too. Goku would get better grasp over Mystic Super Saiyan God. Like I said, a much stronger variation of the original Super Saiyan God form. So he would get control over that, and then go into the ranks of Mystic Super Saiyan Blue. Now,
If you think that Gohan as a Mystic Super Saiyan Blue would be strong, Goku? This is a very strong Goku at this point in the story. Even if there was Golden Frieza, he would have died instantly. We had Super Saiyan God Gohan and Super Saiyan Blue Gohan. And as for Hercule and Videl, who are accepted into the training because of how strong they are, and because Hercule's best friends with Goku, can't really take that away, they get a different kind of training. Whis decides to teach these two an art that helped Goku in the Tournament of Power that might be handy in their near future.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into part 17 of What If Hercule was a Z Fighter. Now, this is going to be a short episode because we're getting close to the end of the series, but I'll still make it kind of good nonetheless. Well, I'll try to make it good in general, not just kind of good. Anyways, last time, to recap, Goku, Hercule, Gohan, and Videl were gifted training on Supreme Kai's planet with the Z-Sword, led to it being broken and Elder Kai unlocking all of their potentials, and all of them a lot stronger. Hercule would also be mastering his Super Hercule form, a fan-made form, just to clarify that, and try to use it as well as Mystic. So, there would definitely be a lot of growth here. Then we get into the introduction of the Beerus and Whis arc, well, Beerus arc mainly, and to just tell you guys the big differences, like I said, small recaps, Pan, instead of not even being born yet, is a young child, so that means a lot more. And then we get into the Super Saiyan God versus Beerus fight, which does happen like the original, because there's no reason as to why it wouldn't. That fight would go almost the exact same way, except for the fact that this is Mystic Super Saiyan God Goku, which means that the 70 to 80% that Beerus was to have been stated to fight Goku in the original, he would almost have to go to 100%. I estimated that he would likely have to use like 90, somewhere around there, but it's definitely a noticeable change. Then, we get into another saga, which has been cut short because of Hercule's influence meaning a lot more. The Resurrection F saga. Now, Sorbet and Tagoma would go to Earth and try and get the Dragon Balls, and maybe even almost succeed, but with Kami being around and there, they wouldn't get far, and Kami would easily vaporize them. Which means, no Frieza coming back to life. Yeah, like I said, definitely another saga cut short because Hercule's influence in the story has meant a lot of sagas either don't happen or are a lot shorter than, like, they originally are. And I don't know if you guys don't like that, but it's just how I view Hercule being there would make the story happen. So, I hope that doesn't bother anybody. Anyway, eventually, during the time skip, Vegeta would get God Ki along with Super Saiyan Blue, like he does per normal. And as for Goku, he has a much stronger Super Saiyan God, as I stated before and in the last episode. This is a Mystic Super Saiyan God, which is a lot stronger. And if you guys have seen, like, Gohan as a Mystic Super Saiyan God, then you know what I'm talking about. Even though it's not canon, but still, you know what I'm talking about. And instead of a normal Super Saiyan Blue, he would get Mystic Super Saiyan Blue, which would definitely have a different tint to it, different color, and be a lot stronger. Gohan, also training on Beerus' planet, would get access to the God forms Super Saiyan God and Blue. Well, Mystic Super Saiyan God and Blue, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And I left off with the cliffhanger last time that Hercule and Videl would be training with Whis. But, since they're not Saiyans, Whis is teaching them something else. Ultra instinct. Yes, I'm going as far to make that joke that Hercule actually gets Ultra Instinct. But in this story, if you've seen his growth, then you will not see this as a joke saga. Most definitely not. This is what I view around this time. The Hercule and Videl would definitely be, like, suitable for that form. Or technique, rather. It's not form. Anyways, since there would be a longer time skip with no Frieza, that means they have way more time to train, which means that they might be able to access Omen almost at will. But then we get to Champa and Vados and the whole excursion with the Universe 6 tournament, with Goku obviously being one of the members, Vegeta being one of the members, of course, and Gohan is actually in the tournament instead of having a stupid conference like originally, because he was going to be in the tournament, but, oh, I have to miss an important conference at college or whatever. Stupid. But he gets to be in this time. Videl and Hercule, of course, are going to be the last two contestants, with Monaka not being required because Goku's already in the mood to get stronger, especially with Hercule around. Then we get to the tournament itself, which the first match, Goku vs. Botama, would go the exact same way, but then we get to a change. Goku versus Frost. Now, there are a few things that change the outcome of this match. For one thing, no one ever saw Frieza past his first form, because Vegeta iced him pretty quickly, pun intended, in that first form. So, Goku has no idea about transformations, so he wouldn't even budge Frost to transform, which means that Goku would knock him out pretty handily. And even though Frost does have his poison, he wouldn't be able to react in time to use it, so Goku wins this match by default. Then we get into Goku fighting Vegeta next, and Vegeta using his flames to try and smoke Goku into losing, like what happened originally with Vegeta versus Vegeta. Goku, in a split-second moment, instead of going Super Saiyan, goes God right away to end the match before it can become a problem and him suffocate. So, with that, he didn't even have to insult Vegeta, he just flat out knocked him out. So no one knows about Vegeta's weakness, as of now. We then get to Goku versus Kaba, and this would be a much friendlier match than Vegeta versus Kaba, and Kaba would get great enjoyment out of fighting Goku, Goku being the same way. I do think that even though Goku would be fighting Kaba here, that he would still coach him into transforming into a Super Saiyan. But it would be a lot more friendly, Goku ultimately being the victor. We then get into the Goku versus Hit fight, which would go the exact same way that it did before, all except for one thing. Goku is the first to fight him, so that means he's a little bit more injured, because he had to figure the time skip thing out right away. It's a little bit more injured, not too much of a change. But Goku still does concede, with Beerus and Champa bickering, and Goku concedes because he knows Hit can't use his full power. Hit is noticeably still injured here, and Hercule is the next one to fight. Now, similarly to how he supposedly won in the original against 18 when he was a weakling and not in this story, Hercule uses his delayed reaction Megaton Punch. Now, this surprises Hit for a few reasons. One, he wasn't expecting that punch to actually be delayed and injure him. Two, he was planning on, faking being hit by the move anyway. And three, he's just surprised that a human could have that much potential. Anyways, Hercule ultimately beats Hit, the tournament is over, and Zeno arrives after Champa gets all angry, and him and Goku's meeting would honestly go the same exact way. But afterwards, a few more major changes. For one thing, since there's no Monaka, that means there's no
Copy Vegeta arc, which not really too big a difference in the grand scheme of things. It was a pretty cut short saga anyway in the original. But here's a big number one change thing. No Zamasu and Goku Black arc. Why? Few reasons. One, no time travel. So, yeah. And Zamasu is still angry with Goku, but it's really cut short because the time travel thing was one of the main spikes. So he's just with Goasu training to be the Supreme Kai. And after that, we get even a bigger time skip because there's no villains, all leading up to the events of the Grand Priest saying that Zeno's bored and wants another tournament. The Tournament of Power. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for the moment.
Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If topic video for today. And today, we are getting into another Dragon Ball What If topic video on the channel today, which is part 18 of What If Hercule Became a Z Fighter. Now, we are approaching the end of the series with this, so to speak, character of the Dragon Ball world in general. I say character because in the original, his character doesn't amount to much besides helping against Boo. Now, this story has proved him very valuable to the Dragon Team. And last time, we had just ended the Universe 6 tournament with Hercule being the one to deliver a delayed reaction Megaton Punch successfully against Hit. And the meeting with Zeno and everything goes down per the same way that it does originally, with a few minor altercations, well, some major. The Copy Vegeta arc doesn't happen because there's no Monaka. And since there's no future timeline because future Trunks or nobody else came back in time, that means the Zamasu has less incentive to go and steal Goku's body and kill all mortals. He still saw Goku's fight, but he's not as motivated. So there's no Goku Black and Zamasu arc either. Which means that there is going to be a much bigger time skip so that the heroes can train. So, during this big time skip, Hercule and Videl get more accustomed to the uses of Ultra Instinct Omen, and almost are completely mastered over the form in its entirety, or the technique, rather. Form of Ultra Instinct. Or rather, Goku, having used Mystic and Super Saiyan Blue and Kaioken effectively, it's kind of weird saying all this together, now wants to try on the path of Ultra Instinct himself, a little earlier, well, a lot earlier, than originally. So he's going to have Omen before the tournament, but it's not mastered like Hercule and Videl. Hercule also gets a golden cape to basically show his stature of being trained by the gods themselves, like the destroyer and angel of the universe. This is a big deal, and Hercule feels immense pride with this. He originally wanted to be the world martial arts champion. Now he has a gold cape to show that he was trained by gods. What will the Earthlings think when they see him in that? Anyway, since Pan was born, like, in the cusps of the Boo saga, I believe that I said it was, that means that around this time that the Tournament of Power would be taking place, she would be the same age as Dragon Ball GT Pan. Now, she does not have Super Saiyan, but people are trying to get her to learn it, like Goku, Gohan, and them, so she's almost there, just not yet. And even though we get a bigger time skip with a few arcs not happening, which is kind of a theme for this whole What If in its entirety, but back to the point, since there is a bigger time skip with 2 arcs not happening, that means that Zeno's going to get bored a lot sooner. With no future Zeno, no exhibition match, he's going to get bored a lot sooner. So, the Tournament of Power is going to be set in stone an arc earlier than the tournament was originally planned. So, everything for the tournament is set in stone, pretty much how it was in the original story. And Goku is obviously going to participate because, obviously, Hercule is going to participate, and he looks forward to being in another tournament. This time, part of him isn't really that excited because if they lose, their universe is going to be erased, but still exciting. Videl is obviously going to be the third member, with Gohan following suit. And for all the other members, it's a pretty easy grab. Vegeta is obviously going to be one of the other members, and unlike the previous Tournament of Power in the original story, Goten and Trunks being the adult and Goten being a teen, are actually going to participate. And as for King Piccolo, him and Kami, I feel, around this time, knowing that desperate times call for desperate measures, and seeing how much King Piccolo has grown, and that he's really not a bad guy anymore, I think that they would finally get to understand each other, and Kami relinquishing his duties as guardian of the Earth, and Piccolo fusing with Kami, except this time it's King Piccolo and not Piccolo Jr. So, we get the nameless Namekian like the original, except it's King Piccolo and not Piccolo Jr., as I said before. And it happens way later in the series than it did originally. And don't worry, the Dragon Balls are still going to be relevant just after the tournament. That whole Namek thing, I'll explain more in the next episode, because I'm not going to be able to cover it this episode. Pan is obviously going to be in here, and you might be asking why. Isn't she too young? Well, youngness was never a problem for any of the other contestants that we saw in other universes. And plus, Gohan and Videl and Hercule and Goku, they want her to enter. Tien is going to be the last fighter because he's pretty much the next one in line for potential-wise. I mean, we got Krillin and Roshi and stuff like that, but Tien's the next one in line. They don't want to have to go to bigger lengths than they already have. Before the Tournament of Power actually happens, the whole thing with Goku hiring Hit to kill him and get a fight out of him, that still goes down per normal. We get no Universe 9 assassins or any of that biz because there's no bringing anybody back from the dead. So, everybody is ready for the Tournament of Power ahead of time. A bit ahead of time. And they all enter the world of Void. And as the tournament begins, Goku goes straight after Hit. Because remember, since there is no Zeno exhibition match, he never fought Topo or Bergamo or anyone like that. So, Hit is the main one that Goku's worried about right now. Topo and Jiren and them he'll concern himself with later. He just hasn't noticed them yet. Now Hit, understanding how Goku works by this point and being bested by him pretty much twice. Goku conceded the first time, but he possibly knew he was going to get bested. Now, he's trying to be extremely strategic with his time skip, using also his time cage ability. But with Goku's use of the Mystic Form and Mystic Super Saiyan God and Blue, and a halfway decent mastery of Ultra Instinct Omen, even Hit's time's cage proves useless, and he's thrown out not even 5 minutes into the tournament. Now, in the original, Basal and Hit together were able to kick Narirama's arms while he was spinning around making Rampage. But since Goku went after Hit before that, Basal is the only one to attack Narirama, and only get one of his arms. And you'll understand what I'm getting at in a minute. Right whenever he's about to go for another attack, Lilabew, like the original, goes in and rushes at him, knocking him back and angering him because he was about to finish this robot off because he was all alone. Narirama, getting his composure back, realizes that this butterfly lady just interrupted their fight. He was about to show this wolf boy who's boss for daring to interrupt his attack. And instead, he focuses his spinning attack right on Lilabew.
And similarly to what happened in the original Tournament of Power, Lila Bu is the first one to be thrown out. Not a relevant change, but it's relevant enough to its own degree. Basil now wants to challenge Narirama one-on-one, but then Napapa, like the original, goes in to attack him. Now Basil, seeing himself outnumbered, retreats, because he's not that stupid. He's not gonna challenge them both like this. Now, Narirama, wanting to at least beat someone, because his prey just left, he goes straight after Napapa. And even though he has good robot moves and his arms and cannon and stuff, Napapa, with his superior wrestling abilities and big muscles and whatever else you want to assume with a sumo wrestler, is able to actually throw Narirama off with his superior strength. Narirama has skills and stuff, but Napapa is way more muscular and stronger. So Narirama's thrown out by Napapa. Now, since Goku had fought against Hit first and not gone after Toppo or Jiren or anything, now he notices them both right after beating Hit and goes for them, or at least one of them, and is interrupted once again by Ganos. And since Goku went after Hit, a bit more time has passed. So Nink goes in and tries to grab Goku like he did originally, but with a twist. Right before he goes to grab him and help Ganos, a dynamite kick goes straight at Nink, and when the dynamite kick explodes, kicks him right out of the ring. It is Hercule who has come in to help Goku, and both of them knock out Ganos with little effort. And afterwards, Vegeta comes in, seeing the two of them knock out people, and with Vegeta's help, they then go on to fight the likes of Universe 9 like they do originally. And except this time with a few changes. Hercule is helping instead of Frieza, and this is the first time that they've known about Lavender's poison. But with Ultra Instinct, with the likes of Hercule and Goku to like a lesser degree than Hercule, but still, it helps in the degree that Universe 9 is still defeated rather easily. And that's where we are going to be leaving things for right now. Hey guys, it is Nick here with another Nick's Topics Dragon Ball What If Topic video for today. And today, we have reached the finale of What If Hercule Was a Z Fighter. That's right, today we are concluding the series with a 20-minute video. So strap yourselves in, grab a snack, and let's dive into the finale of the story. We recap to the Tournament of Power, in which the likely team-up of Goku, Hercule, and Vegeta have just gotten done defeating the likes of Universe 9, and Lavender's poison being countered by Goku and Hercule's Ultra Instinct, allowing Vegeta to have good openings on the other trio of danger and easily defeat all of them. We get back into the Tournament of Power, in which Vegeta still goes to fight Botamo and Magetta, or I'm sorry, Bota Magetta, like the original, and that goes pretty much the same as you would expect. All of the other stuff goes kind of normal with other characters, but then we get to Vegeta meeting Kaba, because Kaba sees him and wants to fight him, but since these two never had a master-student reaction, or interaction, Vegeta just eliminates him right on the spot. No holding back, nothing. Then, we get to the fight where it would originally be 18 versus Shoza and Krillin jumping in and so on, but since there's no 18 and Krillin relationship, King Piccolo takes the stead of fighting Shoza. Now, the power difference is much more major because this King Piccolo has trained a lot, and just recently fused with Kami. So it's definitely a much bigger gap in power than the 18 versus Shoza fight. But one simple kick, like 18 versus Shoza, knocks Shoza down, and King Piccolo thinks that he killed him, half of him kinda enjoying the moment, because it's still King Piccolo. He's good, but not, like, still a little bit of evil in him, kind of. But Shoza then jumps up with his fake death strategy and throws the Demon King off guard. But just at that moment when King Piccolo's about to fall off, Gohan is actually the one to come in and save him. Now, this isn't me trying to immediately make Gohan and Piccolo like each other, because that really isn't going to become a thing here. It's just Gohan looking out for another teammate in the group, and the two easily defeat Shoza. Then Majora steps in, but he, even though the whole not being able to see thing is made aware of at first, he's still most easily defeated by the two's, like, power. Now, Frost, having transformed into his fourth form, like, way earlier on in the tournament, making it kind of a surprise, but not really, to, like, people like Vegeta. Frost did this because he didn't get a chance to transform in the Universe 6 tournament, if you guys remember seeing that episode. But anyways, Frost then tries to take the opportunity, like he did with Krillin in the original, to knock out Gohan while he's distracted, or at least one of them. But King Piccolo catches him and blasts him out, saying that that's a dirty move. Even for him, he thinks it's a dirty move. We then get to the Goku versus Caulifla and Kale scene, which actually goes per normal, and he tells Hercule to keep out, because Hercule, he's okay with Hercule helping him out, because they're lifelong best friends, but he wants to be able to fight the likes of Caulifla and Kale and maybe learn a bit from Universe 6 Saiyans. So he tells Hercule to just stay back and watch. So the whole thing goes normal with that fight, with Jiren being the one to put out Kale's lights like originally, and Topo blasting Goku with his Justice Flash before he can fight Jiren. Now, the whole 5 Pride Trooper thing goes per normal, except with no 17 and 18, and that's pretty much it. That's really the only difference here. We then get to a big difference. The likeliness of Universe 2 and their transformation. Now, the startup is built up the same way, except 17 isn't there to interrupt the transformation. But Kakunza and Vikkel are eliminated by the likes of Gohan and Videl. Then Rosie, she is eliminated by the likes of Goten, who, if you haven't seen before, is 18 right now. Now, Ribrianne is actually forced to use her super form, because it's not just Goku who's fighting her this time. It's Goku and Hercule, because, like I said, they're lifelong best friends, and they have really, really good synergy, fighting together since the olden days where they first met. And their teamwork is most definitely noted by everybody surrounding the area, including Ribrianne. But she's not going to let this pride show to her enemies. No way. She's got a tournament to win. It is so much a potent teamwork that Ribrianne has to use her ultimate form to even remotely come close to even breaking their synergy somehow, some way. But this turn of the tables won't last. Hercule pulls out his Super Hercule form, Goku pulls out Mystic Super Saiyan God, and with that, with just a simple combined attack from the two, Ribrianne is toast, and Universe 2 is getting fighters knocked down way earlier on. Gohan versus Botamo would go the exact same way, so nothing to really say about there. We then get to the Gohan and Albany fight. That goes per normal, except the one to fight Rubolt is King Piccolo and not Piccolo. That's pretty much the only difference in that fight, with Universe 10 then being the next one erased like the original. Now, we get to another notable change. Kunchi is actually still in the tournament. Because Hit was knocked out by Goku way earlier on, because he was the first one to fight, that means that Dispo hasn't been at all injured, and Kunchi is still in the tournament. Not a really huge difference, but it's still a notable difference for the Tournament of Power speaking. Now, since Ganos was knocked out earlier on, Koei and Dakuri are eliminated by the likes of Pan. Mainly, they're kind of holding back, but not really, because it's a little girl, but Pan shows that even though she's a kid, she's no slouch. If you've seen Pan from Dragon Ball GT, you'll know what I mean. Now, the whole thing with Hermilla and Prom and Tien being the one to knock Hermilla out and then Prom being eliminated, that pretty much goes down per normal, because Tien is the weakest one in the tournament as of this point. Now, the next fight we would see would be Majikayo trying to take an attack on Jiren. And originally, Dispo fought him for a little, got caught off guard, Jiren knocked him out, yada yada yada. But with Kunchi still in the tournament, it's Dispo and Kunchi together who are the ones to actually knock out Majikayo. And Jiren doesn't step in this time because he just lets these two take care of it. Because he has more people around him. He doesn't care, but he has more people around him, so he'll just let them take care of it. And Kunchi's there to make sure that Dispo doesn't get caught off guard. Now, Magetta is ordered by the likes of Champa, because he's all alone and has no Frost or Bertamo. He is ordered by Champa to go after Pan, seeing her as an easy target because she's like the youngest and figures that she must be the weakest of the group. Take out the little one and the rest will follow suit. But Pan hears this and gets angry. She points up, she looks up at Champa and then points over to where Magetta is standing. And she says, "You really think that this big metal tin can is enough to beat me? You gotta send your runts to do your dirty work and attack a little girl?" But this insult catches Magetta's ears because Pan's pretty much yelling it. And, of course, this would be the first time that we actually know of the Metal Man's weakness to insults, because Goku knocked him out with pure strength. He never insulted him. So, Pan does feel sorry for this, but it's a tournament, so she has to knock him out. But she does feel sorry that she hurt his feelings. Gohan versus Jamise would happen like original, but with no Frieza and no Frost, he would just fight Jamise, and he would obviously be the victor, because with Gohan's potent training with Beerus and such, it's most noted that he would definitely win this. We then get to the Goku versus Jiren fight, which is there's going to be a very huge change, which is going to pretty much end the tournament right then and there, and you'll see what I mean. Because Hercule is there, and Goku actually accepts Hercule's help because he seems like the strongest one, and it'd be potent to have, like, another teammate. Now, by the time Goku goes into the likelihood of Super Saiyan God, Mystic Super Saiyan God, and Mystic Super Saiyan Blue, Hercule pulls out Ultra Instinct Omen to keep up, because by then, his super form and just his mystic form in general isn't really cutting it with Jiren, even when they're teaming up. But Jiren still has to pull out a little bit of more power than originally, so it's not like it's not potent at all. Now, when Goku sees that Hercule pulled out Ultra Instinct Omen, and realizing that his Mystic Super Saiyan Blue really isn't cutting it, he pulls out Omen too. And Jiren, at this point, believe it or not, hate me if you want, has to pull out full power. Why, you might ask? Because there is one Earthling with very, very high concentrated focus of Ultra Instinct Omen attacking him, and the strongest one on the team, the Saiyan Goku, in Ultra Instinct Omen 2. And plus, as I said, perfect synergy and teamwork. And by the time these powers are colliding and Jiren pulling out full power, the force of this knocks out the rest of Universe 2, the rest of Universe 3, the rest of Universe 4, and the rest of Universe 6, which is mainly consisting of... There really is no one left in Universe 6 except Cyanel and Purina. So, and Caulifla and Kale. Now, aside from those guys from Universe 6, the rest of Universe 7 has to hold on for dear life with all their energy to just stay in the ring. And Dispo, Kunchi, and Topo are still in the tournament as well, but it's most noted that these three, their energy and force is major. Pretty much decimating almost the entire ring. Now, even though their energy and focus is good, Jiren's full power is still a bit more powerful than their Ultra Instincts combined. That is until Hercule whips out Mastered Ultra Instinct. Since Hercule had pretty much mastered Omen, he had a little bit of practice with Mastered. He hasn't mastered Master Ultra Instinct, that's a bit of a tongue twister, but he has some control over it, to a degree, much more so than Goku does right now. Speaking of which, Goku then realizes that it's all or nothing, and whips out his Mastered Ultra Instinct, but he has to pull a little bit more focus because Goku doesn't have as much training with Ultra Instinct as Hercule, because Hercule and Videl had the training first, and Goku had been mainly trying to get God Ki first. And by this point, even when Jiren brings out his buff full power form, it is most noted that their teamwork and the Mastered Ultra Instincts together, Jiren doesn't even compare. It is most noted that he is almost no match. He surprises them at first, but it's just not enough. And they easily overpower him the first few seconds of the fight. And mind you, this is the Goku versus Jiren part of the tournament that they knock him out. Afterwards, the rest of the tournament is basically a wash, because Universe 6 and Universe 11's fighters are all that's left besides Universe 7. So the rest of the tournament is a washout for the Universe 7 team. Super Shenron is summoned, and the wish is given to Goku or whoever wants it from Universe 7 to restore all the universes, and the Tournament of Power comes to an end. But the story isn't over. If you guys remember, I stated that Present Cell had survived because the bunker of Dr. Giroux's lab was never discovered because no future timeline. Which means that around this time, Present Cell is going to awaken, because I've seen and heard some posts and videos that stated that around this time he would appear. And so we have Present Cell's introduction. Now, he is not as strong as you might think, even with all the data that has been shown. He has a lot of data, but with a lot of sagas not happening or being cut very short, that means that Present Cell, he is very, very strong. He's on that kind of god par, but he isn't as strong as you might think. He's in the quadrillions and quintillions in that range, but I'll tell you guys in a minute. And it's also noted that his directive after being awoken is to absorb 17 and 18 for some reason, because perfection. But remember, these two were killed along with 16 by the group and King Piccolo. So, it's just imperfect Cell. He doesn't have 17 and 18 to fall back on. And even though he has tremendous power, he's still angered that he doesn't have that goal anymore. So, he takes out his anger right away, killing the likes of Krillin and Tien first. Now, since this is the time of the DBS Broly movie and everyone's training at the lake resort that Bulma had, Goku and Vegeta would be training there originally, everybody notices this, especially Goku. And they're like, Krillin and Tien just died. And then they sense the power. It's like 1,000,000 powers. And they have no idea what's going on. It's like someone's killing him and it's just a bunch of confusion. But right at that moment, before they can process anything, Present Cell makes himself known. And everyone is just confused as to who this creature is. But then they're all angry, and it's like, did you kill our friends? Present Cell then smirks, and then states that he was ripped from his prize of 17 and 18, and that they're the ones who killed them. And then he spills the whole story of who he is, how he was created, and that they should have checked Dr. Giro's lab much more thoroughly, because had they done that, they wouldn't have had to deal with him now. And now they're gonna face his wrath. Now, Beerus, knowing that this guy is an immediate threat to the multiverse with 1,000,000 people's data in him, and knowing this guy's an immediate threat and just having no patience for him whatsoever, knows that he can't play around here, and delivers a full power. This is Beerus at full power Hakai, which pretty much incinerates half of the Earth. Well, it creates a gigantic line across the Earth, basically, and vaporizes Cell. Now, I know, I kinda ripped off Present Cell here pretty quick, but like I said, Beerus was never shown to, use his full power, so it's noted that Beerus would most likely take the initiative here, in this case. And there is no DBS Broly, because there is no Frieza army, and Broly and Paragus would basically die on Vampa from no food. So, the DBS Broly arc doesn't happen either. And that's pretty much the end of the story. We have seen this guy, Hercule Mark Satan, go from a young, brash, arrogant adult into a literal god warrior, even more so than he ever could have been, having a golden cape symbolized to have the training of the gods themselves, being able to train with Beerus and Whis, and master the technique of the angels. And I'm sure that if this guy were to have gotten this strong in the series would have almost been a complete washout in some arcs like I've shown. But that's pretty much where we end this story, my friends. Now, I really hope that you guys have enjoyed the series up until the end. I hope you guys that have stuck around enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts about the entire series in its entirety in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and the series and want to see more on this channel. And as for the next series, it's going to be Dragon Ball again. But what it is, I'll leave for a surprise. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Catch you later.